Here we are. We are live. Cocktail Network live here with Rob. You said, what side are you on? There you go. Rob,
hey, you're on this side again.
It's always reversed. Welcome to National FLair Bartenders Day, Rob. Happy birthday.
Dean, this is one of my favorite holidays right behind Christmas and Halloween, brother. I look forward to it every year, and thank you for starting this a couple years ago. And you want to tell the story of what today is and why it's so significant, how it came up?
Sure. National FLair Bartenders Day. Anybody who's been following Rob and I along over the last couple of years, well, thanks to COVID, we got into doing this online stuff like the entire world did, of course. And we started talking about kind of bringing back all the love and fun that FLair bartending events and competitions had over the last 20, 40 years. And just kind of bringing something back for the new generation of bartenders that are coming out, this post-COVID generation of bartenders that are looking for how to make great drinks, how to entertain, and how to do everything behind the bar. But we started talking about celebrating FLair bartending again, the National FLair Bartenders Day, June 10th. June 10th is today, and it's also the same birthday as the FLair FLair bottle. Yay! It's actually my niece's birthday as well today. So National FLair Bartenders Day, of course, the FLair bottle was born on this day in 1998, and it took the world by storm. I had no idea that we would be so successful. And within a few weeks, I was getting calls from around the world saying, "Hey, we need some of those FLair bottles." And the rest is history as the world embraced them, and they allowed FLair bartending to go kind of from here on a bit of an incline to going up like this because the skill level just went through the roof. I say it's the good and bad about FLair, the FLair bottle. So that's what brings us to National FLair Bartenders Day. Rob, where are you at?
Right now, I am in Pompano Beach, Florida, in the middle of Hukilau, one of the biggest tiki events in South Florida. Two of the major sponsors are Real Infused Exotics and Plantation Rum, which are great partners because they're partnering and pairing up a lot with bartending competitions here in the United States as well. So it's great to see that and see them just keep working together.
Excellent. Hey, down in the corners of the screen here, you can see Friends of CNL, hashtag Friends of CNL, and on the other side, National FLair Bartenders Day. We're asking anyone who's watching today, if you have a video or a clip of any FLair bartender, post it today with these hashtags so we can celebrate those that are wanting to entertain from behind the bar around the world. So hashtag Friends of CNL and National FLair Bartenders Day. So, great. And Rob, go ahead, Rob.
So just a brief little history of National FLair Bartenders Day. The first official one that we celebrated was last year, where we did the live broadcast. I think we had 6 different seminars, a plethora of different FLair bartenders or bartenders throughout the world, talk about the history of FLair and where it is now and how to put it on your events. It was a lot of great educational pieces there. And last year, the goal was just to bring awareness to it and let people know, like, hey, we actually have a holiday. This year, now that people know a little bit more about it, we're asking a little bit more from you. Like Dean said, we're asking you to post a FLair video. It doesn't have to be you. It could be any FLair video you want on your social medias with the hashtag National FLair Bartenders Day and hashtag Friends of CNL. And that's the first step of just being part of this and celebrating it. And then next year, what we're going to ask is throw a FLair comp. Throw a FLair comp around this holiday, around the world, and let's just keep growing FLair bigger and better and going into the future in the right direction. Dean?
Yeah, that's great. Throwing a FLair comp is the way to go.
Or a yard day.
Or a yard day. Yeah, the yard day is, I'm just trying to get my camera on. There it is. Yard days, huge opportunity to get together with your friends and start spreading the word of FLair. Just getting together with your local bartenders. A FLair day, just invite your friends out to a piece of grass anywhere. It could be public. It could be in a backyard. It could be absolutely anywhere. Bring your FLair bottles, all right? Bring your fly bottles, too. It doesn't matter to me, all right? I just want you to be flipping and having some fun. And then start sharing. That's one of the beautiful parts about the competition or the yard days is everybody shares, and FLair bartenders share their moves back and forth. Hey, how did you do that stall? Let me show you. It's so fantastic. That's where so many great moves are born and friendships.
Yeah. So let's go over today's agenda if you're ready.
I am ready to go over today's agenda. If I could only find it on my screen here. Come on, there it is. It's yeah, there. Let me move that around a little bit. Wonkity wonk wonk. We're clearly not professionals at that. All right, woo! Happy National Flair Bartenders Day from Tom Dyer.
Hey.
How does he do that? How can he be on my screen and live on the internet?
Magic.
All right, let me try this thing again here. All right. I told Rob earlier, one day we're going to get good at this. All right. And it won't be today, though. All right.
We're doing great, buddy.
A wonderful day planned for us today, National FLair Bartenders Day. Hey, great poster by my buddy Rob here. Congratulations, man. Great job.
It's easy when you put good talent up there. Mike Hastings, Marco Canova, Philip Raimondo, Tom Dyer, this guy Dean Cernils, Rob Houston, and some special guests coming later. But if you want to go over today's itinerary and a little bit about each one.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting up at 12 o'clock. It's 12:01 right now. These guys are anxious in our green room. Marco Canova, famous Real and Finest call guy, but also famous world champion Flair bartender. And Tom Dyer. Tom Dyer being the godfather of Flair over in Europe and running all kinds of competitions. They're going to tell us more about what they're doing, including the book that they're writing, Rob.
Excited about that. Excited to see the state of Flair in the UK and just celebrate it. And it's excited to see where that's going to go, and excited for the second seminar as well.
Yes, seminar number 2, Philip Raimondo and Dean Cernils. All right. Yeah, Phil and I are going to be doing some magic. We're going to be talking about magic tricks and bar tricks and a different style of Flair bartending. Not the bottle flipping Flair, but Flair being bartending with Flair, which is something that Rob and I talk about quite a bit. Bartending with Flair means you can be entertaining with any kind of style, any kind of pizzazz. Philip Raimondo and I are going to be doing magic tricks back and forth. We're going to be doing some bar tricks, and we have an extra special guest in there as well that Philip doesn't know about yet. and then, go ahead, Rob.
And then the third one, which is Dean kind of been working on this for months and putting together, and I love it.
Years.
Yeah, the controversy of it is he is the first Flair bartender ? So we're going to talk to the staff of the original Marina Del Rey TGI Fridays bar staff and get to the bottom of some bold claims and find out if this person is the first contemporary Flair bartender, because we all know Jerry Thomas being the original Flair bartender, but let's see who the modern contemporary first Flair bartender is.
Certainly something to be said for Mr. Thomas. I'll bring my book out, actually. It's right over there. I should run over and get it. Yeah, this guy claims to be the first Flair bartender on the planet. On the planet. On the planet. As you said, Rob, is a very, very bold claim. So we're going to put that to the test and see if anybody else can prove it for us. So, hey, you want to get these handsome dudes out of the green room?
Yeah, let's start with our first seminar, European Legends with Tom Dyer and Marco Canova.
There we go. Thanks for joining us, people. Oh, and if you are on Facebook, go into the comments because I can post your comments right here. Look at this, Laria. Looking forward to reading the Flair book. Very good. Beautiful picture there. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Marco Canova and Tom Dyer.
Hey!
Got them muted. Here we go. Gentlemen, can you hear us okay on the other side of the planet?
Loud and clear.
Yes, Dean.
All right. Thank you for joining us, guys. This is fabulous. So exciting. So exciting to have you guys live with us on National FLair Bartenders Day. I don't know how to make it international. How do we do that?
Just say it and it's done.
Yeah, just add a couple letters.
You know what? Who's going to stop us, right? So, welcome to International FLair Bartenders Day. All right. Let me just fix that right now. International FLair Bartenders Day. There it is. I just fixed it on the screen, all right?
Perfect. Now I can change my comment.
It's now International Flair Bartenders Day.
Ah,
Guys, what's going on? How have you been?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Doing well, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with what's happening in the Flair world. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Marco, what's going on with you? Where are you at today?
I'm home, Dean, back in Italy for a couple of more days and off to Norway tomorrow for work. But yeah, doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, you guys are working on a special project. Rob, did you have any questions to get started on that?
yeah, I guess the first question being kind of with the title of everything, and then kind of bring everyone up to speed, and those watching and not knowing, educate them. Gentlemen, this question goes out to both of you. From your point of view, describe the differences between European flair and flair across the globe.
Right.
Marco,
It's
do
a
you want
very
to go
broad
first?
question, Rob,
Marco, go on.
I think overall, if we are talking about competition flair, then yes, there is a difference between the European style and the American style. In the American style, we can call the American style kind of the universal style in a way, because the Asian, they picked up a lot on the American. So if you're looking at competition itself, there is definitely a difference. And when it comes to really the style and the movements, especially when it comes to more than two objects, the 3 and the 4 bottles, I think those were the first that they have defined the flair, European flair bartending, which maybe came out of the UK.
Can't hear you, Marco.
Yeah, your microphone's a little choppy.
How about now?
There
That
you
was a
go.
little better.
I was saying that clearly in the late 90s and early 2000 in England, a lot of all the old school guys came up with a lot of new moves when it comes to 3 and 4 bottles, and that was kind of kind of explosion, let's say, of the European / UK style flair, which then translated into also the 1 team bottle, which was, in my opinion, slightly different in terms of the type of moves. If you it's difficult to explain, but if you watch a video, you kind of understand. The American style when it comes to the 3 bottles, as you all know, it's the base of it is the juggling style, up in the air, and then
Right.
every now and then you do a different cut or a different move. But versus the European style, when it comes to the 3 bottles, it's a lot of grabs, a lot of rolls, a lot of misdirection or taps, mainly when it comes to 3 and 4 bottles. And the American style did adjust to the European and vice versa. They both kind of meld together at some point. I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit, Tom.
Yeah, I think Marco's kind of covered it. Like there was quite a big divide years ago when Marco and I was competing at the early 2000s, probably the same for you guys. And that's mostly down to, I think, the fact that the US was the place where flair began, and the juggling style of flair bartending was, the leading way of flair. And then a bunch of people came along and wanted to show something different, wanted to show a different way of doing flair, namely Nicholas St. John, who was the first to do 3 bottles in non-juggling style. But as we know, if you just from one thing from one hand to another, that's juggling. So flair bartenders are all jugglers. Whether you like it or not, we're all jugglers that make cocktails. But I think Marco said a key thing there is that these styles are differed. Sorry, I'll start again. These styles which separated the US and the European, so to speak, for so long, I think that line has gone. I think the Europeans Flair is very, very strong over here, and now Europe is kind of leading the way with Flair, and especially with competition and difficulty and everything else. That we're seeing people adopt this European style, and we're still getting people who want to learn a juggling style and use juggling tricks. It's actually now refreshing when you see someone like Rodrigo Delpech come to a competition and smash out 3 and 4 bottles like a demon, whereas normally we're just seeing people do split snatch catch to some kind of very, very heavy dubstep style music. So whereas before I wasn't a huge fan of that juggling American style, now I love to see it because I don't see it enough anymore.
Nice. So I agree with everything you're saying 100%. It's great seeing like way back in the day of like Legends and Quest and seeing all different countries competing. But when they get on stage, they all kind of had their own unique style. Like you're saying, European was very bottle tin and great manipulation of objects. American was very, bold, big, more objects, more difficulty. Japan was very choreographed and precise. Like Latin America was just dancing and smooth and choreography was amazing. So it's great seeing the difference of it. But you kind of touched on something which I think is phenomenal right now, is the amount of competitions, Flair bartending competitions, still going on to this day in the UK. I think you guys are running the most right now. Do you want to talk about like where you guys are at with competitions right now and how you're still so successful with them?
Yeah. I live in Lisbon now, in Portugal. So although I'm still connected to the UK, the UK has a very prominent Flair, what's the word, center. I suppose that, let's say the UK is a very prominent Flair center. Right. The sad fact is that there's no one in the UK currently competing who can even come close to being, one of the top guys or girls, which is sad. But you've got the WFA organizing the Bawley Ballison competition, which is, I think, 4 qualifiers and a final. And I think that's actually it for the UK. I mean, there may be some smaller events which are happening. I know Europe is picking up a hell of a lot with competitions over the last 6 months to a year. But the UK, yeah, I mean, unless there's something that I have missed, the only competition which is happening is Bawley, which essentially took over Roadhouse. Because Roadhouse, obviously, as we know, closed and that competition is no more. The WFA approached Bawley Ballison and they now run their competitions. Yeah, four qualifiers, I think, and 1 final.
Nice.
In European-wise, Rob, there is one coming up in Poland, which they have like $15,000 prize money or euros. They had one in Portugal a couple of months ago with $10K prize money. So they're definitely coming back,
Sure.
That's great to hear that big money's coming back. As Matteo says, hello, everybody. He's watching on Facebook. Big money coming back. 15,000 euros it's big money for today, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about starting to compete again.
Right. Yeah. So there's some energy going on over in Europe and the UK. And then Rob's events over here in the U.S. We're doing 2 or 3 a year here with Rob and Mike Hastings as well. So it's coming back around, and some of the corporations are starting to come back around in conversation as well. So we'll see if Fridays and Hard Rock and any other corporation like that will step up in the near future. So, guys, what do you got going on that's such a big deal that we would have you here on National Flair Bartenders Day today?
Go on, Marco.
Well, Tom and I are writing a book on Flair bartending, as you guys know. I think Tom and I spoke about this about 5 years ago. We were at a show and we kind of had a chat. And then it kind of didn't go anywhere. It was an idea out there, and then I think Tom and I connected early last year, and we became serious about writing a Flair book for a number of reasons that we can explain you about a little bit later. But long story short, we've been engaged in this side project because obviously it's a side project. Both Tom and I have a job, and so we're doing this as a side on in our free time. But we've been working on that since May last year on
Okay.
searching and getting it right, and it's been quite a process because like any project, you start and then you kind of planning ahead and try to be as organized as possible as you unfolding the project, as you are developing this thing. You get to know so many things that it became a little bit of a monster now, and we are hoping to finalize it by sometime early next year.
That's great. Now, who are you interviewing, and where are you getting the history of flair?
I think obviously writing a book, we're lucky that we can put a lot of information in there. So we're speaking to everyone. I mean, we've spoken to you, Dean, obviously.
Right.
We spoke to John Bandy, John Mezcal, Ken Hall, Tobin Ellis,
Wow.
Nicholas St. John, Paulo Ramos. Help me out, Marco. Can't think of other names at the moment.
David
Tug,
Wondrich,
Andy. Sorry?
Collins, David Wondrich, Philip Duff, a lot of all the old mix as well that they were involved in the 80s, the Japanese Flair Association. I mean, people from Australia and South Africa and Latin America. We've been doing it's a global research, Dean, as you can imagine. I mean, obviously the discipline is truly international and touched hundreds of countries around the world, over 100 of countries, and it's a little bit of a huge research, but I think we're probably halfway into it by now,
I hope so. Because every time we speak to somebody new, then they say, oh, you should speak to this person. And everyone has a story, which is great. I think what we've been trying to focus in on more is the story of flair rather than my story or Marco's story or an individual person. We want to see that sort of timeline of flair and see it branch off into its different avenues of brands, competitions, shows, parties, events, trainings, schools, everything in between, to show whoever gets this book, this is your Bible of flair bartending. This would tell you who made up the moves, who started flair, how it got big, how it traveled around the world, who was involved with X, Y, and Z, so that those people who did create Flairco bars and practice bottles are written down in history. Those people that drove the competitions and built up competitions via the FBA. People don't even know what the FBA is in Europe. Half the new Flair bartenders, and they need to know about this history. We're now at a stage with Flair where we have a history, like quite a formidable history, even though it's not very there. And not to put a downer on it, there's a couple of people that we wanted to speak to who have sadly passed away, and we never got to speak to them.
Oh, wow.
So it just shows that we're getting to a stage now where this has to be done, whether we like it or not. Somebody has to do it. So we thought, well, let's just make sure that all the hard work that we put in over the last 20 years gets put down in history, and not just us, but everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a training manual as well. As Tom said, it's for people that want to enter a bartending career or flair bartending career in general.
Right.
And by reading the book, you'll be able to understand what it's all about, what flair can take you, and I think every time I read a chapter, it's kind of so exciting because you read the story and you know, getting all these interviews together, and then you define what you want to put in each chapter. And obviously we've been doing this all our life, and when you read a chapter, you know, it just the way it's flowing, and it's just amazing, those stories that Tom and I didn't even know, you know. And as you are talking to somebody that was involved in the late 70s or early 80s, then they're telling you things that are quite amazing, as far as the way they were operating at the time, and the way they were organizing events at the time. And I think it's going to be really cool for a lot of people, and the response from everybody we spoke to has been incredible. You know, everybody, you know, is just very supportive, and thinks that a book like that is necessary, you know. So it's very exciting to see this project coming together slowly.
Just to also add on what Marco's saying is, like, we're not writing this. We've hired a professional writer to write the book and for it to flow correctly. And at the beginning, we were both a little bit unexpected, or we didn't really know what to expect. But yeah, after seeing how he writes and puts the story together and links things together, it's amazing. And anybody who has been involved with flair, even or just bartending, even a little bit, will be amazed by the stories that come through from the people that we've spoken to, and how the writer has put it all together. So we're really excited, and we hope that people will enjoy and want to read it. And yes, we are going to be talking about the Flair MC's stretch.
I saw that. I had to put that in there. Being a Flair MC myself, we get so little notice. Isn't that right, Stretch? Tom, you were talking about documenting all the different Flair moves and who invented them. Can you give us a hint on just some of those ones that stand out? You know, any moves that we're all using, like the finest call stall or anything else, and how they were invented and kind of where they came from?
Funnily enough, we haven't got to that chapter yet, but
all right.
But what we obviously realize that every Flair bartender says that they have a signature move or moves or whatever it may be, and we can't document all of them. So we're going to try and showcase the main ones. Like, for example, the Nicholas bar spoon. You know, everyone still uses it today. People have no idea that it's come from Nicholas. So giving him his limelight for that reason. The finest call stall, knowing that, you know, again, Dean, that was your creation, and how it should be.
Don't make this about me. Don't make this about me.
But you know, talking about how John Bandy says that the tin behind the head trick was his trick apparently, and you know, thumb rolls and finger rolls, where they derive from. You know, the story I heard is that Wayne Collins in the UK did something with thumb and finger rolls, but I can't corroborate that. And sadly, Wayne passed away, you know, 4 months ago. But we're hoping to speak to a close friend of his to see if he can help. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of allegedly, this move has come from this person, or it's
to the best of your research, right?
Yeah. There's obviously a few moves that we know, like Nicholas's move, we know comes from Nicholas. But like a helicopter on a tin, we can't really say who it came from.
Cashborn.
Rob.
The way we dealt with it I know exactly where you're going into this. The way we dealt with it at FLairBar.com is there's so much controversy, or this is my move, this is my move. I was practicing in my backyard for 3 months. Well, how does anyone know that? So how we defined it was, first one to hit it on stage, you're getting the credit for it. And that's easier to prove because we have all that video archive of everything, opposed to like, well, that's my move, your move. So that's how we kind of tackled it. But if you can find a better way, go for it.
Yeah, true. No, very true. So, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that even with that kind of rule, somebody's going to come up and kick up a fuss. So yeah, we're going to try and cover some moves, and others are just going to be sort of said, hey, there's this move, and X, Y, and Z 1, 2, 3 are famous for this move, you know.
Yeah, and I think being very visual flair bartending, we'll have a lot of pictures in the book as well, so that people can relate to that and just see a lot of images throughout. So that's the goal.
Is there anywhere online that we can follow some of this journey? Are you guys giving out any bits and pieces or tidbits to keep us thirsty watchers thirsty?
There will be, I think, as we move forward, Dean, there will be a social media page where we will build the launch of the book. Yes.
Right.
We're launching that fairly soon, and well, should I tell them about the video as well, Marco?
Yeah, there'll be a video. Go out.
So we're gonna do it because obviously we're looking for content, and we can't speak to absolutely everybody. So anybody watching this, we will be putting out a call for pictures, documents, competition results, spreadsheets, anything that you've got which relates to flair bartending and could be good for a book about flair bartending. And this isn't you 3 o'clock in the morning with your mates at Carnival Court going, woo! This is, documents or images that relate to something useful and worthwhile within the flair bartending world over the years. I mean, the more you can send, the better, because it may make it into the book, and that means your name's going to go down in history in the book, and you'll have your moment and you get your credit in this book, which will be available for forever. And anything we don't use, we will be trying to share a lot of it on our social media pages when they go live. And everything will essentially be under Flair Bartending Book. So flairbartendingbook.com, it will come under there, and then on social media, it'll be Flair Bartending Book.
Is it hashtag Flair Bartending Book?
It is now.
Make it so. Nice. So we talked about the past of flair bartending. We talked about a little bit the future and the competition scene right now and the exciting upcoming book you guys have. Tell us what your thoughts are on this resurgence of flair and your thoughts of it in social media right now and all the different posts and people being involved with it. You're a fan of it, not a fan of it, and why?
First, I mean, Rob, you probably, I mean, on social media, you have hundreds of posts coming out every single day globally, right? Whether it's Facebook or Instagram, there is so much flair happening daily, and which is huge for the discipline, and some of these guys are getting, hundreds of thousands of views, which is fantastic. Those videos, some of these guys, like Tom, they have hundreds of thousands of followers, which is great, So we didn't have that when we first started, and things do evolve. Now we also make money out of YouTube, out of Facebook, content, and I think it's a great thing. Flair remain a very attractive flair bartending or working flair, whether it's craft or magic. When you do content online, people are very attracted to that, and I think it's huge, because we didn't have that back in the days, and these guys now are taking advantage of that, and it's huge for flair in general.
What do you guys think of the other forms of bartending with flair and the division of it from bottle flipping being flair to magic and bar tricks and all that other kind of stuff?
What do you mean? Sorry.
We're talking about expanding the definition of flair bartending to be more like bartending with flair. So bartenders that have style and pizzazz. Maybe they're flipping bottles and shaker tins, or maybe they're doing some magic tricks and bar tricks. What do you think of the philosophy of the words flair bartender separating into kind of different divisions of entertainment? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it already is. although people are shying away from the word flair and using things
Right.
like bar skills, craft bar skills, bar whatever, it's all flair, because the definition of flair is to do something with an inept aptitude to do something well, to have style or originality. So the direct definition of flair bartender is to do bartending well, essentially. It's just a shame that the word flair is still associated with what, let's say, the classic style of flair that we know all so well: competitions, 3 bottles in the air, making simple drinks, putting on a show, performances, big extreme moves. But we all know that flair bartending comes in a multitude of different sizes, shapes, colors, and disciplines. And somebody doesn't have to call themselves a flair bartender, but we know that they are flairing whilst bartending. So I think, I mean, I've thought about this a lot, and it's something I talk about in my presentation about flair bartender, that everyone's a flair bartender, they just don't know it. Anybody who considers themselves a good flair bartender or can do bartending well, you're a flair bartender. It's just you're not a flair bartender in the classic sense, how it is associated, essentially.
Right.
So I think what I've come to grips with or accepted over the last sort of year, I suppose, is to just own flair bartending however it may be, and understand that no matter how it's labeled or how we define it, some people just don't like it, and that's fine. You know, those people are clearly boring, but that's not a problem. So some people just don't like it and don't want that kind of entertainment, you know, and that's completely not a problem. But flair bartending, or bartending with flair, is stronger than ever. And we see it online, we see it through social media. That's been one of the benefits of social media, that's for sure. And I think it can come, like I said, it can come in all different shapes and sizes. As long as you are making a cocktail and using a technique with style and originality, whether that's with magic, whether that's with how you deal with the money, whether that's how you talk to your guests, or if you're Rene Garcia, who's just retired from bartending, how you entertain with zero flair, but just using the things behind your bar, it's all flair. It's all flair.
Yeah, Rene was awesome, and I was sad to see him retire, but happy to see that the success that he's had over his career bartending at Carnival Court. But Tom, I'm going to direct this question to you, and then Marco and Dean, feel free to jump in afterwards. But what you talked about, and with the whole social media and how what Marco said earlier, we didn't have those tools and technology back then to really showcase it. If we did, maybe to be as big as it is online now as it was then, or vice versa. But more importantly, with technology, what are your thoughts, and Tom, you got some experience with this, of competitions eventually just moving all online, like an online competition, you're from your own bar, your own kitchen, if you will, your practice bar, just competing online globally with others from the comfort of your home, as well as judges being in the comfort of their own house, judging as well. And you can talk about Bottle and Tin and some other stuff you had experience with.
Sure. Yeah, I organized a Battle of the Bottle last year, and I've now passed it on to Eugene Sokolov to take over. And I think there's definitely a space for online flair competitions. 100%, I think there is. I think even a lot of flair competitions nowadays, where you have 30 or so bartenders, 20 to 25, unfortunately, perhaps are not ready for the stage, let's say politely. And there's probably another 50 who would love to compete, but don't have the funds to fly to that location or travel there to be able to compete. So putting on an initial qualifying round online and allowing everyone to have their moment, and then the top 10 or 6 or whatever gets invited to a real in-person performance, that's how I see competitions going. And I can't believe that they haven't started like that yet. Because I think flair is such a niche thing, and it's going to be niche for a long time, that we need to, when it comes to a live performance, we need to make sure that the people there performing are at the highest possible level. That's going to make it more visually happy. People basically who don't understand Flair are going to be entertained a lot more. Whereas if we've got 30 or 40 so people going back to back for 5 or 6 hours, I think even as Flair bartenders, it can be quite draining, especially as a judge. So I think online is definitely the way forward, but it's not the only way, and it shouldn't take over real in-person competitions. It should be a bonus to them.
Agreed. And the first one that comes to mind for me is the original online Flair comp that I ever saw was called the OFC, the Online Flair Bartending Competition from barproducts.com, where you would submit a video and then we would judge. I was one of the judges, that's why I remember that, for flairbar.com. You would judge, on your own time and send it in. I'm like, what that started was so ahead of its time, but where it's going now and the tools, I'm excited. Dean, I know you got a follow-up question.
Yeah, Tom, I was wondering if we can't go to a competition and we want to start a competition, what advice can you give to a young bartender or even a seasoned bartender in their own home or their own hometown, how to start their own bartending competition and get things going so at least there's some energy growing in the town?
So it's a good question. And I think one thing we lack as a community is those kind of resources for people to find those answers. I mean, you have now the FBA, who's prominent in America, and the WFA, who's prominent in Europe and other parts of the world. Contacting either of those associations and getting some sort of advice or competition organizational pack for some, in some way, shape, or form, I think is the way forward. I think too many people in Flair do not ask others on how it could be, or they don't ask advice elsewhere. They just try and just go and do things themselves. It turns out to be a complete mess, and they don't do it again because they haven't had the professional advice to be able to organize something correctly and just with a minimal level of professionalism. It can still be fun, entertaining, people can still go crazy, but get the advice from some other people, see how it's been done before, and then go ahead and try and do your own thing if you really want
basic rules or basic understanding of what the bartenders are to expect.
I think, Dean,
sorry.
to add on what Tom said, start small, in your local area. Perhaps it's just open for your restaurant and club stuff, like back in the days, when some of the big competitions started. Start with your 5 or 6 bartender in-house only, and build the community around town, and like we all did back in the days, and kind of grow slowly over the year, and then you do it for a couple of years, and next thing you have a pretty big event, in 3 years' time with some good money on,
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, go ahead, Marco.
I said you got to stay consistent and run the event perhaps every other month, and kind of, build the network.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be bottle flipping or level of difficulty. It can just be fun, like get every bartender in town to get behind the bar and just have some fun making drinks, right? It doesn't have to be anything more than what you want it to be.
When I first started organizing comps, Scott Young actually put out a handbook back in the day on his website of how to run and organize a comp. It's a little outdated now, but it definitely helped direct me for at least a little bit more of what I was walking into. Right. And then to attract sponsors, I had an hour-long conversation with on AOL Messenger with Brian Lewis back in the day of how to attract sponsors and show them their return on investment. And those two things helped open my eyes of a little bit of how to run a comp and how to make sure that you give back to the sponsors. Any advice I can say for anyone running a future comp is don't forget about the sponsors. They're the ones that make us able to put on these competitions. They give you the money, they give you exposure, and without them, we'd be flipping bottles in our backyard. So when you're running a comp, figure out a way to help promote them. And we've all done certain things where sponsor promotion, the rules and things like that. But the more creative you are and something, you come up with some new ideas while giving back, I think will help continue your success of running more competitions while you're learning.
that's where the digital world comes into play very strongly. If you run a competition and you can do the first round, which essentially could have thousands of Flair bartenders in it, and Smirnoff or someone has sponsored it, and they're going to get the exposure from those 1,000 Flair bartenders. That's content that they can use. That's content that's being shared organically, and that's the best form of marketing, really, when it's word of mouth from one person to another.
Right. Hey, Marco, when we're approaching a sponsor, let's say I've got my competition rules and whatnot set up, you represent one of the largest, longest-running sponsors of Flair bartending in the world, Finest Call and Real, as we both do, of course. But you're more on the side where you might be cutting the check or saying yes to the event. What kind of things are sponsors looking for from people running events that would entice you to want to advertise at one of our events?
I think it's a great question, Dean. If you're looking into putting up a competition, and let's say you own a bar and restaurant, I would recommend, first of all, to approach companies that you are working with, liquor companies or mixer company that you are using on a regular basis behind the bar. You're already giving them business, and perhaps they will be open to consider a sponsorship. I think it's always good to put a proposal together. Sometimes you get those random emails from different bartenders around the world. Would you like to sponsor the event? It's $5,000, and there's no proposal, there's no information about the event, and it's difficult to give money just like that without a plan, and really, I really suggest just to start small, and normally, at least the way we do it, we want to make sure that it's professionally ran. We want to make sure that the bar that is organizing the competition is pouring the product, and we want to have a nice, clean event more than anything. And I think as an organizer, you got to remember that it's a 50-50 partnership. It's got to be a win-win for both sides, for the sponsor and the organizer. And I think the organizer, they need to coach their competitors that are entering the event to support those brands that are actually putting in the money, which at least back in the days when I was involved, very few people were doing so. But look after the sponsor. A small sponsor today can be a huge sponsor tomorrow. So you got to build those brands that are paying attention to your event. Whether it's a mixologist or a flair competition, it doesn't matter, But it's difficult to get a sponsor, in some cases, just because the way those proposals come across are not very well defined, and they just don't put in enough details, But again, all in all, it needs to be a 50-50 partnership, and I would start by approaching companies that you work with as a bar and restaurant.
Right, the companies that already support your restaurant, whatever spirit you have in the well, or the mixers that you happen to be pouring. Maybe you can start there and say, hey, you're supporting our restaurant. Do you mind throwing in $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is for this special promotion we've got coming up, like you would with any promotion behind the bar, right?
Exactly.
Tom, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you have a
try me.
Do you have a bottle or two around over there that you might be able to teach us a flair move?
Some fun flair pours or something?
International Flair Bartenders Day.
Well,
Tom's going to check out his bar. What a cool bar. Is that like a live aquarium you have under your bar, you millionaire?
Yeah, the fish are dead at the moment. That's a porta bar, the greatest mobile bar, apart from the Flair Co, obviously, in the world. Very different types of bars, though. That one's like a very big cocktail station, whereas the Flair Co is obviously very much for one person. Anyway, I was just teaching this. I was just making a video about how to do my Grand Marnier move. And that will
Nice.
be coming out on the YouTube channel in the next couple of days. But why not? I can show you how to do it right here, right now, in a bit more detail. So the move, if I can do it sitting down, looks
Whoa!
like that.
That's
Okay. And the trick is here is that when you've got it on your elbow, normally you catch a bottle on your elbow right here. But what you want to do is you want to move the Grand Marnier up to this point, just sort of where, there's a little bit sort of by your bone there. You want it just right there, just so it's sort of on the crease on here. Do you know what I mean? So that when it falls forward, hang on, how do I do it? 1 second. I can't remember how to do it now. Yes. When it falls forward, it falls onto the shoulder of the bottle. Then it keeps rolling. You bring your hand back, and then it will land on your hand. And it's just a case of balancing it. So fall, and then it will just roll on there nicely, just like that. There you go. You do need a Grand Marnier to be able to do it. You can try it with a Cointreau if you want to.
What about a Chambord bottle? Could I do that with a Chambord bottle, you think?
You can probably just roll it up and down like a football with a Chambord bottle, yeah.
True story. There's Steve Harmon saying that there's a great opportunity for Grand Marnier to sponsor us right there. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Send us $20, Grand Marnier, for the amount we drink it, for sure. Steve Dingley's saying hi. He's all over the place with us today. All right. He's an old Flair guy. Back in the days. Oh, my gosh. This is great. So, guys, when is this book coming out?
Week next Friday. No.
Week next
We're aiming for sort of first quarter 2024.
Okay.
Originally, it was a little bit earlier, but obviously, as with projects like this, I think our writer didn't expect us to have so much content for him and for it to be as detailed and diverse as what it's turning out to be.
And it's only getting started, right?
Sorry?
And you're only getting started on it if he's already overwhelmed.
Yeah. Not necessarily overwhelmed, but just I think both Marco and I said, we just want to do this right. Doesn't matter how long it takes. If it's
thank you.
a year, 2 years, or whatever. Let's just make sure that it's done correctly and has everything in there that should be in there. So hopefully first quarter of 2024.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I love how you guys are letting the story tell itself, as opposed to going in with your own, with your own plan or you're wanting to tell your own story, but allowing that story to come out. And you said, this has just been in the back of my brain since you said it, 1970s, you've interviewed bartenders from the 70s that were doing Flair?
Well, people like Magic Mike, he started in the late 70s at Friday.
Right.
79, 78. Magic
Right.
Mike, he was at Friday.
Right.
Armando Ortiz from Germany was bartending 78, 79, I think it was, maybe a little bit earlier.
And were they flipping bottles back then?
He says that they were throwing ice in the Philippines.
Right.
But there's no, we don't have any proof. There's nothing to corroborate other than somebody, other than his word. But Armando he said after that, he didn't get into Flair at all until he got to Germany, and it was like very late 90s, 2000s.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of people started to get into Flair.
Paulo Ramos was 83, and he was doing a little bit of basic Flair. But we also got stuff from the late 1800s, talking about guest bartending, flipping bottles.
Right. Yeah. I've got a document, one of the books, I'd have to pull it out to find out the exact thing, but where it specifically talks about the bartenders throwing their shaker tins back and forth with their froths and whatnot, and that dates back to the 1830s. So, it's an organic thing behind the bar when you're moving fast and you got a bartender there that needs your Grand Marnier. Sometimes it's best to just throw it at them,
I hope they catch it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, there's all this documentation which we can find and pull up, and juggling has been around for hundreds of years.
Right,
I don't know
right.
how long juggling has been, but forever. I mean, I guess cavemen probably juggled eventually. Like you said, it's an organic thing. I think you said a key thing earlier, like the contemporary modern flair bartender, flair as we know it, I suppose started in the early 80s as
Right.
as you guys know. And I think flair as we classically know it, it came from 80s TGI Fridays. It came from a juggler, essentially, pretty much.
Right. Well, we are going to be interviewing that entire team of bartenders coming up right here on National Flair Bartenders Day at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The Marina Del Rey team from TGI Fridays is going to be in the green room and coming up, and we'll be talking to those guys and how flair bartending started, or contemporary flair bartending started, or at least competitive flair bartending anyway, for sure.
Right.
So, Rob, you
Looking
got a
forward to
follow?
that
You got a
one.
question? Sorry, Tom.
No, I'm just saying, looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm excited. Just to remind anyone that's watching in the comments, it's great seeing this. Raul, bartender, Steve Dingley, all those comments. Guys, if you can, for National Flair Bartenders Day, what we're asking, those comments on the bottom, those hashtags, post any Flair video on your social media right now with the hashtag National Flair Bartenders Day and hashtag Friends of CNL, and let's just continue to celebrate today and continue growing Flair in the right direction worldwide.
And if you're in the comments and you have a question to ask, put a Q in front of your question so that we can spot it and get your question asked of the other moderators or the people here on the show today. So if you have any questions, drop them into the comments before we let these guys go. Guys, thank you very much on behalf of all the Flair bartenders of the world for the research you're doing and the documentation you're doing of getting this right for history. And being able to tell the story so that our kids and grandkids can get involved, but more so that we can just prove the history of it and have it locked into the books. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for having us on the show, and looking forward to see the documentary too.
Yes, I'm glad you brought it up because we forgot to.
It wasn't about us. That's why I wasn't bringing it up.
Right. So yeah, if coming up in 2024 as well, we hope to have it out mid 2024. Rob and I and Deborah Richards and Patrick Wirtz are working on a documentary about flair bartending. It certainly won't be as robust as the Flair Bartending book or the Flair Bartending Bible, but it's going to talk about some of the rise, fall, and resurgence of flair over the last couple of decades. Rob, did you want to tell us more about it, or?
Yeah, like what Tom said, there's so many people that have contributed to the story and success of flair bartending to where it started to where we are today. There's just no way to be able to showcase everyone properly. But I feel like we did as best we could for the constraints that we have within telling this amazing story in an hour and a half segment. And then it only opens it up. We're all seeing this now as we're in post-production and editing. Like, there's got to be a part 2 and then a part 3. So I'm already throwing it out there. I'm pushing for that to continue to tell more of the bigger story. We're going to start here and just keep growing each documentary a little more and involving more and more stories, hopefully.
Right. Well, there's so many fabulous stories to tell, and maybe our part 2 and part 3 of the documentary will be individual chapters out of the Flair Bartender's Bible.
Nice.
Very good. All right, thank you very much, guys. Anything to say on your way out?
No, we appreciate your time. I think you guys always put up a great show. I've been watching a number of episodes over the last few months and last year, and
right,
very professional. Just keep doing it. Thank you for having us. We look forward maybe to have a second chat, perhaps in the future.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to launch it, perhaps early next year. Maybe.
Very good. Well, congratulations and good luck along the way, Tom.
Yeah, the same. Thanks very much for keep pushing the gospel of flair bartending. It's definitely something which is close to all our hearts in one way, shape, or form. And I know that there's a bunch of people watching now who have been affected by FLair sounds like it was a bad thing. Have been affected by FLair in some way for the better, I believe. And
Yeah, absolutely.
anybody who's new into FLair, or who's watching this, who's thinking about getting into it, just enjoy it, man. Just that's the main thing. Just have fun, and that's it. If you can have fun while you're doing it, then you've won already.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Guys, thank you very much. We're looking forward to another couple of decades of this. Raul Bartender says, see you soon. I'll give him the last word. All right, guys. Stay tuned, and I hope you guys watch the rest of the day here on National Flair Bartenders Day on Cocktail Network Live. Thank you, Marco Canova and Tom Dyer, two legends.
Thank you, Rob.
Ciao.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
All right. Rob, fantastic. I lost one of my other guests. There he is. All right. What a great conversation. I just love the fact that we're documenting the history of this. And I know my next guest is, or our next guest, sorry, was hankering to get on the show because he's been around since the dawn of Flair himself. Yeah. Any follow-up on those two legends, Rob?
No, just amazing getting people on board and be able to have the technology and still stay in touch to be able to do stuff like this. And again, we encourage everyone today to just reach out and post something about Flair bartending. Tell a story. Tell us what you got out of Flair bartending, why you got into it. Post a picture from your favorite, competition or behind the bar. Post some videos, but please use those hashtags of National Flair Bartenders Day and Friends of CNL, and let's just continue to get the word out.
That's right. And shakenandstrainedthemovie.com.
Shakenandstirredthemovie.com.
Oh, shoot. Yes, sorry. Shakenandstirredthemovie.com. If you have a moment, run over there and drop your name into our newsletter if you could. That's an important piece for us to know that you're out there and that you want to watch and you're waiting for the documentary so that we can go to future distributors and other people that are going to support the film to prove that we have a great audience. So go check that out for the documentary. So much going on, Rob. I am so excited.
Me too, and I think we actually have a clip coming up, possibly, of an example of what's been being posted right now.
Yeah, let me see. Is that the Sky clip, the Sky Statics?
That it is.
Let's see. I'm going to try to run it. Oh, I got to download it first. Boom, boom. All right. Yeah, our next guest is in the green room. He's ready to go. We're going to be talking about doing magic, and as we talked about with our other two guests there, magic and no, this is just giving me a Dropbox, Rob.
Yeah, that's the link to download it there. I've saved it for you there.
All right, let me see if I can get it playing. All right, Rob, tell us about where you are right now.
I am literally texting you that right now. I'm like, I got to jump off for the next segment and get some work done. I'm here in Pompano Beach at the Hukilau, one of the largest tiki events in South Florida. It's a 4-day event starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, finishing up Sunday. A lot of great tiki seminars, a lot of passionate enthusiasts that just love tiki. There's a great seminar that I got to enjoy yesterday of just someone that actually traveled United States, just going to home tiki bars during COVID because he planned on going visiting other tiki bars, but because of COVID, they were all shut down. And he wrote a book about it, just seeing the pictures and how much work goes into it. These home bars out of their garages, their studio rooms, their backyards look like legit bars, and they got rums and tiki mugs, and just they're very passionate and happy to share. And that's the community down here, and I love seeing it. I love seeing them pour some great Real infused exotic syrups and some great plantation rum, and it's really cool seeing the community all get together and all for the right reasons.
Great. Rob, set up this clip if I can get it to play here.
Yeah.
See if I can get it to play first.
The clip that came up on my memories from 2017, but the clip is from 2008. It was, I believe, the Bartender Shakedown Finals in 2008. Dario Doimo's round, showcasing the world of working Flair, a brief little window of it during that time in 2008. And then the last minute, there was no deductions for spills, drops, or breaks. And that's usually when they let the exhibition Flair fly. And just just have some fun. But it was crazy seeing just the amount of talent back then that we were doing and to where it is now.
Nice. Rob, I'm going to let you get on to your event, and we're going to roll this video and get into our next guest here momentarily. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, if you are ready, somebody say yeah! Working on the finest call. It is all happening for you. You are watching Dario Domo, the #1 bartender on the Pro Tour circuit. Don't just sit there with your mouth open. Somebody say yeah! Don't forget, check out Just Breathe, our oxygen bar. Tantalizing tattoos. Barproducts.com, FLairBar.com. Oh! That's the finest call, JD. It's in there. Wow. Somebody make some noise! Hey, Calissimo. I saw that on the movie Cars. Somebody say Calissimo! We got the man from Italy, Cunaville, Las Vegas. Dario, come on, buddy. Little shadow paddle in the bar. Can you say $6,000? Dario! It is all happening for you live from the Blue Martini, West Palm Beach. 3 minutes. Plenty of time. We got the Sky Vodka 210. That's where you want to make some noise. Oh, and he's got the showmanship. I love it. Coming up, FLair Bartending at the Summer Olympics. Halfway through, you're watching the #1 FLair bartender on the pro circuit. Oh, it's the finest call, Togo TV. Right now, I need everybody's hands high in the air. Get them up, get them up, get them up. Don't forget, check it out at FlairBar.com on the World Wide Web or barwars.info. Dario, 2 minutes left. Are you guys ready to see Dario? $6,000. Oh, here we go. It's the finest call stalls. Somebody make some noise. Dario. Get your hands clapping. Oh, come on. Oh my God. Holy shnikes. Just a reminder, just like every bartender here at the Shakedown. Dario, 1 minute left, 1 minute left. No deductions, drops, spills, or breaks. With that in mind, Blue Martini, are you ready? Holy shnikes. 40 seconds. Somebody scream, please! "30 seconds, come on. 4 bottles, here we go. "20 seconds, finish it up. Ladies, make some noise! Seven, 6, 5, 2, 1. Cut it right there. Cut it right there.
All right. There we go. We are back. That was Dario Doimo live. Gosh, I can't remember what year that was. Rob was really skinny back then. I'm sure I was too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are 5 minutes into our next presenter's time. I deeply apologize. We're going live with them right now. Ladies and gentlemen, National FLair Bartenders Day Cocktail Network Live would like to welcome Philip Raimondo.
I'm working on my new FLair move. I got this thing I'm working on with a Grand Marnier bottle. I'm working on it. I'm gonna get it.
You got it, man. You got it. I'm gonna have to go get mine. I think I have to go get my Grand Marnier bottle. I've got a room of booze over there. I should go get a whole bunch and start playing with.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I just having a fun Saturday here. I just want to thank you again. I had so much prep work to do this morning. I didn't have to mow the yard yet, so this is great.
You're welcome. I was. We got into that long conversation about the early days of FLair bartending and how it all got started back in the day. And I saw you down in the corner of my screen here. I so wanted to bring you into the conversation.
I was itching wanting to get in there. I'm like, you guys are like a decade after me.
Right. Yeah. What year did you start bartending?
So I started in 89 or 9. I think early 90. I was at TGI Fridays, Sarasota, Florida. And
started in 88 then, my friend.
Well, okay, so you got me by a year.
I do. Those other young fellows that were on the show don't. So anyway, carry on. You started where?
Yeah, so TGI Fridays, Sarasota, and just, totally loved the whole bar scene. It was great. We were having fun. I was one of those guys that since I was new, if everybody knew the old training at Fridays, the deal was you had to go through 5 or 6 weeks of training, making minimum wage and no tips. Weeks.
Yes.
Okay? And then after the 5 or 6 weeks of the training, you had to do 6 months of service bar. You never got front bar. If you got a front bar shift, it was a lunch on a Tuesday.
And explain what service bar meant back in the day.
So back in the day, we used to have a bar in the kitchen, a service bar, a remote service bar down in the kitchen.
Right behind the wall.
Behind the wall. Now, they have them on the bar in some of the restaurants too, but it was literally down in the kitchen, a separate bar that all I did was crank out drinks right next to the food line.
Right.
So all the mistakes that the chefs made came into the service bar, which was great. You put on you get to eat for cheap while you're on those 6 weeks, right? And then the 6 months. But
that's all you were eating. You're probably shoving some in your pockets to take home, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, you can eat that chocolate cake. It's gonna go bad. So you would literally be back there making drinks. 19, 20 dubs, servers, waitresses. They'd be working on a Friday night, Saturday night, and they would just be calling the drinks out to you. You didn't have a chit that printed and told you what to make with all the special instructions.
Oh, right.
They had code words and certain ways to ring. So like if you had something that required me to start the drink, meaning it was not going to be made in the glass it was served, i.e. a rum and coke or something like that, I had to hear the word working. So that meant working strawberry daiquiri. And they would be there waiting to get the strawberry daiquiri. Now, if another dub walked in and ordered working strawberry daiquiri, the first person who ordered a strawberry daiquiri would have to say, that's 2 strawberry daiquiris all day. So if you ever heard the phrase all day, that's kind of where it came from. So then I would have to add more rum, and I would make 2 strawberry daiquiris. And then they would put the glasses up on the service bar exactly where they needed to go. And I would just pour right into it. And they would do their own soda mixers. They would ice their own glasses. But we didn't have a chill. If I forgot a drink, I'd have to find this, the server, get it, remember it. But you get really good at memorizing drinks at that point because you have 19 people yelling 5, 6 drinks at you at a time. And granted, a lot of it was easy. Leaded and unleaded, which was light beer or regular beer on tap. We had colors for all of our beers, so you couldn't screw up. You wouldn't say Bud Light or a Miller Light. You would say Miller, you would get an MGD, or Miller High Life. If you said a light, you would get a Miller Light. But then you also had colors. So Chrome was Bud Light. We did have silver.
Gosh.
Coors Light, Coors Original was gold. So you'd have all these different colors for the beers that you'd yell out. I actually traveled up to Ohio to Passport and worked in another restaurant, work service bar for a day. And they used presidents. So they were yelling at Washington, Lincoln. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. No, that's too much. They used presidents instead of
Because they knew you were the rookie, right? They knew you were the new guy.
And everybody was ordering beers that day. But,
2 LITs and a Moscow, or not, Cuba Libre. Yeah.
Cuba Libre, yeah. What the hell's why didn't you just tell me it was a rum and coke?
What? You bitch! Why didn't you tell me it was a rum and coke?
It's the best. So anyway, I'm working at Fridays. I'm starting to learn some Flair. We're hosting the, in stores, we're hosting the regionals for Flair for our division. And I totally, now it clicks. I'm bar backing for Jeff Ruth for his year that he went to the finals. I think it was 91. And then I ended up helping out with the regionals, going in and helping them run theirs. And then years and years later, Fridays called me up. I had been running, actually, a couple of the comps I ran back in the day.
The Bar Stars events. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I worked for Patrick Henry, so I ran Quest for the Best for probably 5 years.
That's right. From what years? What years did you start that with Friday?
I ran Quest for the Best in 99 as an outsider. I helped Patrick out in Orlando because he didn't have anybody on the ground there. And then I went to work for Patrick, and I ran it for 4 years after I started working for Patrick.
Awesome. I started in 98, I think, was my first
I remember
Quest.
you there. I was there in 98 with you, 97, because we were helping Disney. Rick and I were helping Disney out with some of the compulsory stuff, with their local stuff.
Right.
But, and then we trained a lot of guys. You remember my house, my house was
your house is where Yard Days was invented, right?
Yeah, Billy Hitchcock, it was kind of his thing. He would call up everybody. It was, at our house we shared, and Brian, of course, and I saw Tremper recently. I had dinner with Tremper, actually. It was great. So we would have guys come over. We set up a bar in the backyard. We had a speed round bar in our dining room. And then we had pour testing classes in the kitchen. So, anybody can come by anytime. I'd be working pour testing because that was kind of my niche. I was really good at that. And I was good at speed rounds. Billy's in the back teaching juggling. Alan Mays would come over. It was like no big deal. We'd have, guys from out of town. This is before Alan moved. We're talking before Alan moved to Vegas to go to the Voodoo Lounge.
Yes, Voodoo Lounge with Ken.
This is pre-Voodoo Lounge, I think.
This is pre-Vegas Flair. Rob Husted tells a story that he got. Rob Husted was invited to one of your Yard Days and was so intimidated by everybody that he couldn't touch a bottle. But he's got a whole bunch of it on camera, like a
he used to have the big camera, And then we moved houses to another because our lawn guy he stopped coming. He wouldn't come to mow our yard anymore
because it's all glass.
It's all glass, and then of course Flairco comes out, but that was like years later. We had to actually tape our bottles.
Right. I had the same backyard. That's why I invented the damn plastic bottle. Because my backyard, I had 2 little kids, 3-year-old kids, that couldn't go in the backyard because there was broken glass everywhere.
Yep. But then we moved houses, and that house was on the lake, which is great. So we moved the bar a little bit further back. We got an outdoor bar. And then we actually had 2 bars out there. And these guys would be flipping bottles between bars, which is where we came up with the idea to do the first tandem competition, if you recall. Right. I don't think that anybody's ever done a tandem since then. Yeah,
they're in and out. We talk about doing it. But, all right, Philip.
So that's where I got my start. And I always was like the guy that couldn't do Flair. That was my thing. So I had to come up with another niche.
Ah, very good. Nice segue. Good segue. All right. Let me set you up here, Philip. Philip Raimondo, you've just heard, of course, that he's got this legacy of Flair with all the great Flair bartenders. In his own words, not very good at Flair, wanted to learn other things to talk to entertain his
guests. I can still get 3 bottles up, though. Don't give it. I can still throw 3 bottles.
Yeah, I know. You can still get them going. Yeah.
Not going to happen today.
Phil is a magician as well as a great pianist. Yeah, very good. That's another story altogether on another day. We'll definitely have to have you back on another day with Rob so we can talk about your history. But one of the things that Rob Houston and I are doing, and we talked about it with Tom on our clip ahead of this, was the term flair bartender, or the terms bartender with flair. Two very different terms, really. Flair bartender is kind of defined right now as the bottle flip and shaker spin and glass tossing bartender.
Yeah.
Bartenders with flair are bartenders who are entertaining with their own personality, style, and flair. I would like all those words to be synonymous at one point in the future. But tell us a bit about doing magic and bar tricks and how you evolved into that, so that we can get onto this segment, because I really got some cool things to teach our viewers today. So
one of my mentors and the guy who trained me originally to bartend was Magic Mike.
Right.
Jimmy kind of took me under their wing. They came down and did the workshops with us after I did my 5 weeks. They came down and I learned from those guys. And while we were doing
they still working for Fridays at the time?
No, they had just started Showtenders. In fact, this was one of their first jobs as a consultant.
Okay.
They got Fridays to hire them to come back in and do some training. So they came down to our store. We did these workshops with them for about a week. And one of the things that Magic instilled in us was he goes, it's not about bottle flipping. He goes, you got to be talking to guests the whole time. He's like, when you hear that bar stool screech, you know that somebody just came up to your bar. At least look at him, make eye contact, say, hey, I see you're there. Don't worry, I got you covered. The first thing you want to do is, get a bev nap in front of them. Get them a drink. Then there's going to be time to have fun, but get them settled and comfortable. And you've got other guests. In our big bars were square. We're talking 50, 60 bar stools around a big square bartender bar. We didn't have a service bar at the end. It was 4 big stations, 4 bartenders each working, usually 2 bartenders on the weekdays. So the point is, Magic came in and he had these horseshoes that were locked together with a chain.
Right.
And he handed them to me. He says, here, try to take these apart. I'm like, what? He goes, take them apart. And I sat there forever trying to get these stupid things apart, and I couldn't figure it out. So he walks up 2 seconds later, he goes, and he pulled them apart. I'm like, well, how the hell did you do that? I've been here for like 8 minutes. I couldn't figure it out. He goes, exactly. But you were occupied for 8 minutes. So I used to go out.
Entertained for 8 minutes, right?
I would have these little things here, like whatever you call them. I have, boxes of them behind the bar, right?
Yeah.
When people come in the bar and they order a drink, I put a bev nap down and I say, here, see if you can get those apart. And I would just throw the thing in front of them. And they're sitting there fidgeting with it, and that buys me time to go get them a drink. And the other person who just came in to get a drink.
Hit service bar real quick, or...
Exactly, or take care of a guest, or change a bev nap or whatever it is. So it gave me a chance to keep moving around the bar. I would get them their drink. They would ask me to show them. I would do it. And then sometimes you'd have 2 people that are sitting a couple seats away from each other. Strangers.
Right. That's the key. That's the real magic here.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have this back then, but this is a great example of just something I would have behind the bar. I had things like this, not exactly this thing, but I would sit there and set this up. They've got the little scoreboard here, and then they would just sit there and play and try to hook it up and opposing sides and see who could win. And maybe I'd buy them a shot, or they would have a competition. That was really where the flair was, getting these people to have fun and hang out, talk, communicate, get to know each other. And that was the magic that I was doing behind the bar. Then that evolved into doing magic tricks. My grandfather taught me tricks. My dad taught me tricks. I was always enamored by magic. So I did a few basic tricks. I'm still not a very good magician. I mean, I do some magic. Here's one. I used to do this one every day.
Do some magic for us.
So here we go. This is a trick. This is a bar trick. You can do this at home. You get 2 straws. You melt them together. Then you take another straw and you lean them up like this. And I do have I don't know if the other thing's working. Oh, let me move that this way.
There we go. There we go. So, that's working fine.
Look at a 2-camera shoot, dude.
You got it, brother.
Awesome. So then you would say, okay, I need you to take this other straw here. I need you to pick all 3 straws up without bending, mutilating, doing anything to this straw. And you got to pick all of these up at one time. So people go in and they try to do it. And of course they'd fail, it would fall. And then you'd stack it like this. And then they would try to, do this and they would fall. And then you come by after they finally give up. Let's hope, pray, fingers crossed. I haven't done this in a long time. And then you just go like that.
Oh, nicely worked.
So it worked. First
nice.
shot. I'm very happy.
Yes,
happy.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one of the billions
trick.
out there.
Just using bar things you have behind the bar. I mean, we had tricks with matches that you would put down and spell a word, move one thing, and make the mathematic equation work. You can Google those. Go find them. They're so much fun. Go look at the YouTube videos of people. I mean, a really good friend of ours, Cheryl Charmy, she wrote a book on it. I don't know.
Yeah, she's written more books about bartending than anybody else I know.
Yeah, but I mean, she did one on bar tricks. Is my point. She has a lot.
Yeah.
The cherry, the snifter with the cherry. You've all seen that one. So I didn't want to do a bunch of stupid tricks like that because
if you've got any, I would love to see them. I've got a couple of tricks lined up for us today myself. Bar tricks are so simple to get into. Anybody that's watching, we really want to express there's really more money in bar tricks, magic tricks, and keeping people entertained and focused at the bar nowadays than there ever has been. And far more than flair, don't you think, Phil?
Absolutely. I think that you got to realize that there was magic bars in Chicago in the 1960s and all through the 70s, and there still are. There's
Chicago Magic Lounge.
Magic Moment Restaurant here down in Sarasota, where Stevie B worked, and all these great behind the scene guys, and of course the world famous tower in Colorado in Aspen with Doc Easton. I talked to him a couple days ago. He's actually
Great.
I was supposed to see him next week, but he's going to be at the castle working, so I won't see him.
Oh, right, the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
Yeah, and so that's I love doing that. So I wanted to do things that were bar related. I can't do it today because I don't have the bottle, but I used to do one trick. Everybody loved it. People were drinking Heineken back those days, and I would literally take the Heineken bottle, flop it up, catch it, foot behind my back, and I would spin it and shake it out like I'm going to put it in the recycle bin. And then I would say, "Oh wait, you want to see a cool trick?" And I would hand them back their bottle. I said, "Here, watch this. That's your bottle, right?" "Yeah." And then I would take a quarter.
Right.
I'd say, "Look, here's a quarter." And I would take the quarter and I would pop the quarter into the bottle. And then I would take the bottle and I would turn the bottle inside out to get the quarter out.
You turn the bottle inside out.
Yeah, that was the trick I did. So the way I did it is, I'll tell you the secret. I had a guy take all the bottles. gave him a 6-pack.
Right.
The magician, this guy had a magic shop, and he was really good at making stuff. So he took a 6-pack of Heineken for me, peeled the labels off, put the label inside the bottle, and put the label back on the bottle, but from the inside.
Cool. Isn't that cool?
Then I had a second label that was on saran wrap.
Gotcha. They could just peel right off.
It's like a cling wrap. So that was the one that when I flipped the bottle up and caught it, I actually switched the bottles out, and I'd show the guy the bottle. Here's your bottle.
Right.
Put it up. I said, "Give me a quarter." They'd give me one of their quarters out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd pop the quarter in, shoot it out, hand it, and then I would say, "I got to get the quarter out. You got to break the bottle." So I would actually take the bar towel, like I'm going to break the bottle to get the quarter out, rip off the front label, and then hand it back the bottle, and all they could see is the label on the inside of the bottle. It was great. It's one of my favorite tricks. So I'm giving you all some secrets here. You can have fun with everyday things. Yeah, it takes some time, and I had to pay the guy to make the bottle for me.
Right.
But I earned so much. That bottle was paid for in 3 times I did the trick.
Right. The tips just keep flowing in after that, right?
Oh,
because they're paying you to entertain them at that point. I produced a DVD about bar tricks. Back when I released the FLairco DVDs back in the early 2000s, 2004-ish. And one of those DVDs of the 4 was dedicated to bar tricks only with items found behind the bar. Oranges and straws and napkins and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So it's definitely there. I would love to see as many guys and girls into magic behind the bar as there are into flair. You know what I mean? There's got to be a whole new thing out there.
Well, you know, the other thing we were talking earlier about people gathering and getting together. So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to do is I needed to occupy these people's time. I needed to entertain them. I wasn't here just to make you a drink. You want to sit and drink by yourself? Go to another bar, go home. But if you want to come out, meet people, have fun, you know, be entertained, and you want to watch the guy on the other side of the bar flip bottles, sit over there. You want to be entertained over here with me? Great. You want to meet people and get to know people? Come sit over here with me. And I tell you, one of the things here, I'll show you a trick.
All right.
I don't know.
I'm just setting that up.
And I'm going to teach you the trick.
You got it. All right.
All right.
I got to go to your other camera.
This is a good one. So you get a lot of people involved. You hand somebody the deck and say, here, you shuffle that deck. Okay? You tell somebody else. So if somebody else shuffles the deck, it doesn't matter, right? And then while they're shuffling the deck, I get a piece of paper and a pen out. Okay, and I would hand this to somebody in the crowd and say, here, you take this. And I would spread the cards out all over the bar top.
The bar top is just the perfect surface for doing magic from.
Yeah. And then so I would just spread all the cards out like this all over the bar. And I would say to one person here to my right, I'd say, here, you point to any card. So say stop anytime.
Stop.
There, right here?
Yeah, that one right there.
That was the 8 of hearts. Write that down. And then so the person who I gave the paper to is writing down 8 of hearts. Write that down, 8 of hearts.
Beautiful.
Say, okay, you pick a card. Go, somebody else pick one.
All right, down 2. Okay, go ahead.
3 of spades. 3 of spades. All right, pick another one.
That one. Stop.
This one?
Yep.
6 of diamonds.
How do you know that's the 6 of diamonds?
It's the 6 of diamonds. And then you know what else I know? This one right here, that's the 4 of diamonds. Because it was right by the 6. This is the 4 of diamonds right here. See? So trust me here. What were the cards again? Start again. What was the first card?
There was a 3.
The 8 of hearts?
The 8 of hearts? Yeah, I didn't actually write them down.
The 6 of diamonds and the 4 of diamonds.
And the 4 of diamonds. Oh my God.
So I teach you guys, and then you could have an accomplice with you, and you could do that. You could do 10 cards. You don't have to do 4. I did it to do quick. I'll show you how you do it really quick. You do is you get all the cards together.
Yeah, teach us.
Them. You give somebody paper so they can write them down. You got 6, 7 people. It doesn't matter. You could do it to 10 people. All you have to do is know where one card is. And right now that card is the 3 of clubs. How do I know where the 3 of clubs is? Because the cards are facing me. The 3 clubs on the bottom. So
all right. So you start with the 3 of clubs. Whatever card happens to be on the bottom, right?
Memorize the bottom card. Now as you're spreading the cards around, you pull that card out like this. So you know that it's by itself, and you can identify that card anywhere on the bar because it's right here.
Right.
Now, I can have an accomplice who knows my trick, who's a friend of mine with that group. Or I can have the other bartender who knows, but the card that's closest to me is the card I know. So this is what card? So
the 3 of clubs.
So you pick this card here. This is the 3 of clubs.
Gotcha.
3 of clubs. Write it down. Now.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm writing down the 3 of clubs.
They're watching the person write down 3 of clubs. Now I'm going and I'm taking a peek as I rotate the card in my hand. I just took a peek of it. I know that this is the 8 of diamonds right here in my hand. 8 of diamonds, guaranteed. And I know that this right here, this is the 8 of hearts. But it's not. It's my first card. So I put this card, instead of on the bottom, I put it on top.
Gotcha.
Now when you say, what was the first card?
The 3 of clubs.
8 of diamonds, 8 of hearts.
8 of hearts.
So that's how you do it. You're always one behind. Fun trick, easy to do. You could do it at the bar. You can't mess it up. You can have an accomplice that look really good if you don't even touch a card. And you could do 8 cards, 10 cards, the number of people that are with your group, and it's a great trick.
That reminds me of a trick with an accomplice as well. Let me get myself solo and you up there. Gosh, there was 9 coins on a bar. Remember that one?
Oh, yes, that was great.
Of the napkin. You could do it on the corners of the napkin.
Yes, you would do the napkin, and I would put a bad nap. Now, normally you'd have to get an accomplice.
We got to get together and do this on a regular basis, Phil, and we got to start. We're going to start doing our own yard days, our magic group online somewhere, and get more people involved. How's that?
Perfect. So you'd have a bev nap that's underneath somebody's drink. This is not your bev nap. This is the bev nap for the customer, right? So they have this here. Then you would have, I don't have enough coins right now, but you would have quarters set up on the bar or some other item, bottle caps. It doesn't matter. You just have them set up on the bar. I guess I do have 9 items.
Nice.
But
Good,
anyway,
good. Great trick.
so you would basically, I
So
say, okay,
I'm the accomplice, right? And I've got a drink sitting on the napkin, right?
you got a drink sitting on the napkin.
Right.
Okay. So now I would turn around and say, okay, look, touch any coin you want. And the person would say, I'm going to touch this coin here. Now, I don't get to see because I'm turned around.
Yeah.
But the person who's my accomplice takes a sip of their drink and puts their cap down there. So now I know that they touched that coin.
Right.
Then,
and I can pick up my drink again.
Yeah, you pick up your drink again. And I say, here, you pick one. Even my accomplice picks one. They go like this. And then they put the thing right down like that. And I walk around the bar. I blindfold myself. And I mean, I do all kinds of stuff. And you
could go back. You could go work service bar for a minute, make a couple of drinks, and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you would say, you touch that one. Then I would say, you don't even have to touch it. Just point to the one you want. And of course, the accomplice would know exactly which one. And then sometimes I would have the accomplice don't even touch it or point. You just pick one and whisper to the person next to you which one it is. And then they would show me which one it is. And then it would go on and on.
They'd be whispering it to the accomplice.
Yeah. I'm telling the accomplice is actually in on it and helping me out. It was great. It was a fun
And the accomplice, oftentimes the accomplice is a regular at your bar. That's just some guy sitting there having a drink, right?
Yeah, he might be around the corner and not even part of that group.
Right.
He's actually sometimes he doesn't even participate. He's just watching and telling me which one they touched. Right.
Yeah, he's in on it. So while you're working this group over here, being this amazing mind magician, mentalist, you've got a regular at the end of the bar who's being entertained as hell. He's part of your night, and he's going to come back tomorrow night to do it again. Start bringing in more of his buddies. Oh, come watch. We can do this thing at my buddy's bar.
Exactly.
It's all about building regulars and building moments of memorable moments, as I like to say.
Building the regulars was important. I'm going to tell you another really quick story. So remember I told you I had to work 6 months in the service bar?
Right.
It didn't really last long. I went about 2 or 3 months, and then I started getting some front bar shifts because we lost a couple bartenders, and so we needed to fill shifts. But in my entire time ever working at Fridays, I never worked the front bar on Saturday night, and I only worked the front bar on Friday, I think twice because somebody got sick.
Right.
I never worked Friday and Saturday night.
Those weren't big money nights for you, were they?
They were the biggest money nights at the bar.
Right, but not for you.
Not for me. I didn't get to. I would sometimes work service bar on Saturday night. That was my good money night. I'd make good money. But here's my point. I worked Sunday night, Monday night, Wednesday, and Thursday lunch, right? So I was working these weird nights. Monday night was a ghost town. I made maybe $55, $60 my first Monday night. Me and Craig together, my buddy Craig. And we made no money. We're like, man, this is horrible. I mean, we were making double, triple that on the floor as a server. Why are we working Monday night for $50?
Right.
So our manager, we got business cards made up. We got free app cards. And we went around to every bar Friday night and Saturday night. And we would go into sleep big tips. We picked target 2 or 3 bars to go to. Leave good tips, leave our schedule. On the back of our business card was a rubber stamp so we could check the nights that we worked or the shifts that we worked. And we give them a free app card. Come see us Monday night. We'll have the game on. Come see us Monday night. We turned Monday night from about a $700, maybe $500, sales night. We were doing more on Monday night than they did on Friday night. 2 bartenders, not 4. I was making double on Monday night than what they made. And it took about 3 months to get that. And we built it. We ran that for 2 years. We were 2 deep, 3 deep on a Monday night because you know why? People loved to come see Craig because he made the best drinks and he was the nicest and all the girls loved him. He was the cute beach dude, the surfer dude, and he'd have that crowd going on. He had all the Hooters girls in there, and that was great.
Yeah.
Me, I'm on the other side of the bar doing magic. So people would come in and, hey, you got to go see the magic. You got to go see the magic. And I would be doing card to ceiling. I'd be doing all kinds of crazy crap. And that's how I really honed my magic. I started watching old VHSs of Doc Eason, who was a mentor to me and had never knew who I was. I met him 20 years after the fact, and he
Right.
and I have become friends since then, which is amazing.
Right.
But I learned a lot from Doc. The first rule that Doc taught me was get a drink in front of them. You got to get to sell the booze. Got to get the booze flowing. You don't need to be there just like the
You hear that noise?
the guy that's doing tricks. Take time to be part of a bartender who happens to do a trick every once in a while.
Right.
It's not a show. It's a thing you do while you're working. When you have a moment, you do a trick, and then you would do a trick. People would say, "You got to come in and see this guy."
Absolutely. People start coming in. I actually did that on a Sunday night. I had a manager who was getting pissed off at me, and he gave me a Sunday night by myself. And I turned that Sunday night into one of the biggest nights of my biggest night anyway. I was making big money on Sundays. And by the time I was done a couple of weeks in, I had every bartender going on my Sunday nights. Let me switch my camera over. And Phil, I got a surprise for you.
All right.
Are you ready?
Okay. I think so.
My one camera's going to die, so that could be a problem. That'll be a surprise on its own. But let's see. Oh, what is that? I've got some fur or something here. Who's that?
Is that Cheryl?
That's Cheryl
Is she there with
Charming.
you right now?
Cheryl Charming is calling in. Turn your camera sideways, Cheryl.
Oh, she's not there. She's on camera.
Turn your phone sideways for me, Cheryl.
I'm sideways?
Turn your camera sideways, horizontal for me. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys, I have no makeup on. I have no makeup on or anything. I pulled over on the side of the road. I'm in the Badlands in South Dakota.
Well, you look beautiful.
Very special to see me this way. Okay. Hey, Philip.
Hey there. Haven't seen you in a while. We're gonna meet. Are you gonna be at Tales or no?
I tried to connect with you when I was in Tampa.
I know, and you were here for a while too.
No. Here's my question. During Tales, will it be 70 degrees in New Orleans?
No, it will not.
Then I won't be there.
It'll be raining at about 97.
Cheryl is currently traveling. Tell us about it.
I'm traveling, I'm chasing the 70-degree weather around North America. I'm trying to find a spot here. Okay. Yeah, I'm in my bedroom.
Which is your van, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a camper van, and I'm in my bedroom right now. And if I reach over here, I'm now in my kitchen. And and if I reach a little further, that's my bathroom. Anyway, you get the idea.
Awesome.
Am I not
That's awesome.
I'm not centered. Am I centered?
No, you're jumping all over the place.
It's mirrored too. So you go this way, it goes the wrong way.
It's opposite too.
I mirrored my other camera because I was going to
sorry.
show cards, and I don't want it to be backwards. But
Right.
Okay, I'm trying to figure it out here. Okay.
Very good.
I
We
had
got
it
you
up
front
on
and
a little
center
mic.
there.
how fun is that? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, I was trying to get her lined up for the show, and yeah, she said I could call in from on the road. So she's in the middle of a mountain range somewhere.
You remember this one?
Yes, of course I do.
Right.
My favorite. I was gonna do my one with the champagne fluid inside the wine glass with the shot in there, and you can only touch with one hand, touch one glass. Oh, I used to do that one every night. Every night that would be done.
So, Cheryl, how many books about bartending and bar tricks have you written, including the one I have on the screen, The Cocktail Companion, The Guide to Cocktail History, Culture, Trivia, and Favorite Drinks?
You know, I did 17 books with publishers.
Hey.
Yeah, and my very first book was Bar Tricks and Bar Magic.
Yes, I have it. It's in a box.
Right.
With all my other bar books.
But it made you a ton of money.
At my office, and I can't find it right now. It's in a box with all my books. I got to know. Now, I was just going to say, that's how I got to know you, because you had that book, and I reached out. I went to
Right.
your webpage, and you and I started chat. It was probably 1996, 97, somewhere
Right.
around there.
No, my first book came out in 2000.
All right, so the magic trick, the bar trick came out in 2000.
Yeah, and I had been doing bar tricks for 20 years by that point.
Yeah, but maybe it was before your book came out that you had the website.
Yeah, 98.
Yeah, that's what it was when you started the
Yeah.
site. That's when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times.
Good.
Yeah.
Philip, can you do a trick for us? Can you entertain us with some
Yeah,
magic?
I'll do a trick. I'll do a trick. Let
Yeah?
me see. I've got a few tricks. Let me do this one just because I have it sitting here.
Yeah.
So
You got a
It
beautiful
doesn't involve
setup
a
there.
piano, does it?
there is a piano. It's on the other side of the room.
I knew it.
It's out of range. It's out of range. It's out of range. All right. So we'll see if we can
Philip's
do
the
this on
entertainer.
camera. So I've got 4 red cards and I've got 4 black cards. It'll be easy to know which ones are the red because the red ones are red on the back. See?
Yes.
See, they're red on the back.
Right.
Okay. Now the black ones are going to be easy to tell because they are blue or black on the back. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the red ones and I'm going to stick them in between the black ones. Just like that. And I hope it's coming up good on the camera. You see that they're interlaced, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm squeeze them all
Yes.
together. Now watch. They're not I didn't do anything tricky yet. They're still, see, red, black, red, black. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take all of them. We're going to square them up nice and tight. And we're going to shake them. And watch what happens. They separate black from red. Isn't that crazy? Watch. I'll do it again for you. So I got the red ones here. And I got the black ones. I'm going to put the black ones in between the red ones. Just like that. See? Black one in between the red one. Black one in between the red one. And the black one in between the red one. Right? And I squeeze them all together. Now look. They're still mixed. I haven't done anything to them yet. Right? Now see, look. Watch what happens. We take them. We square them up. We give them a shake. And look at that. They separate again. It's crazy.
Woo!
Watch. I put the red ones here. And watch. I got the black ones here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put the black ones right on top of the red ones. Now watch this.
Oh,
Give
they're
it
mixed up now.
give it a shake. My hands are sticky. And look. They mix up again. That's called oil and water. That's a good trick. Kind of fun.
Nice.
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 Did I flash? Can you edit that?
No, I didn't see a thing. I didn't see a thing.
My sticky hands here.
That's funny. All right. I'm just working on my cameras here. I just lost one of my cameras. So Cheryl, where did you get started doing bar tricks, and just how influential does doing bar tricks and magic behind the bar been on your own career?
Well, I was promoted to bartender in 1980 from cocktail server. And 6 months in, this guy named Daddy Jack showed me a trick. And I know you guys know which one it is. It's the one with the snifter and the olive.
And the
And
cherry.
you have to get it into,
Yeah.
yes, or the cherry. I actually learned it with the cherry because he ordered a Manhattan and he took the cherry out of the Manhattan and asked me for a brandy snifter and started doing the trick. And everybody at the bar loved it. And I wrote it down on a cocktail napkin. And then I guess it took me about 10 years to collect about 1,000 bar tricks and bar magic tricks. Because I went and worked on a cruise ship in the Caribbean, then I went to Walt Disney World, and I just, every time I would do the tricks that I was learning, people would always go, "Oh my God, do you know the one with the dime and the dollar and the toothpicks?" And you know what I mean? And I would just write them down and save them. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to love the one with the bill. You put, you got the cherry set up. You put
There it is.
Yep. There it is.
There it is. Yeah, I was.
Except I
Go
always
ahead.
use olives now. I always use olives because the cherries are too sticky.
Right.
And yeah, and then once I do that one, I expanded on it, and I would put two olives there, and then
Gotcha.
3, and then 4, and then 5. You know what I mean? To
That's
continue it
cool.
on.
So for
Yeah.
people at home, so that I can show it, because this is probably one of the ones that I started with as well. The challenge is, can you get the cherry into the snifter without touching the cherry? Correct?
Oh, no. I had another object, like a small glass. Actually, I first learned it with an ashtray, but I changed that. So you
Right.
have to get the cherry into the other object. The rules are,
Oh, that's
is
right.
the only,
So I'd be
the
here, and you
rules
have to get the
are,
cherry into the dish, right?
sure, yeah, it's 3 items. And the rules are, is the only thing that you're allowed to touch is the brandy snifter.
Right.
And the brandy snifter must remain inverted at all times.
Inverted, but not necessarily inverted.
And then I had to add, after doing it so many years, I
Right.
had to add, and you cannot use the rim to try to stick the cherry on the rim and shake it off.
So it looks like this at the end of the day, after the people have tried to scoop it up and tried to do all this crazy stuff. It goes on, we spin it around.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually eliminated the scooping. I didn't want it because I have customers to wait on. I've got drinks to make for servers. I eliminated the scooping. That's why I started. It must remain inverted at all times. And then I would always bring up, like Top Gun. It has to remain inverted, so that keeps them from tilting it, and you know what I mean.
Oh, I see. So you're saying it has to stay upside down.
Yeah.
No, that's the way I do it.
Yeah, very good.
Hey,
There's
did
one
you ever have that one drunk guy who you're like, you got to do it? He wants you to do a bar trick.
Yeah, I'm usually the one drunk guy, actually. Yeah.
Well, it happened every night. You'd always have one trick that you give to that guy that maybe somebody else at the bar knew, or maybe they didn't know, but then they figured it out halfway through. So remember the one with the 3 rocks glasses, Cheryl? I think you taught me this.
The 3
one,
box.
Yeah, I'll show you. Just throw the camera up. So we got. I just use cups and balls, but it's the 3 cups. Say, look, you have to get all of the cups face down, and you have to make 3 moves, and you have to move 2 cups per move. It looks like this. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now all 3 are upside down. Now you do it. So you get that guy to do it. He would say they couldn't figure it out. So no, you got to use all 3 moves. And they would go like this, and you got to move 2 every move. They couldn't do it. I said, no, watch. It's very simple. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we get all 3 down. And then you would go like this. And if you realize I just did it on purpose, is that when you start with the one in the middle up, all of the cups will end up. If you start with the one in the middle down, they will all end up down. You stay on the right side the whole time. So it's 1, 2, 3. Just go left, right, back in the middle. That's it. And get them all down. And then you flip this up, and when they go to do it, it's going to be up no matter what. They can't get them all down. So that was another fun one.
Yeah, that's fun. I will say, let me put this in here. So I tended bar for 42 years, up until 8 months ago. And over those years, my bar tricks pretty much came to a cream of the crop 10. Because when you work in tourist areas, you can do the same ones over and over and over. And the whole way I would do it is, after I would serve their drinks, I would say, hey, I just learned this magic trick. Do you mind if I try it out on you? And it's the what's it called? It's the 4 items, and it's a force. And I force them to pick an item, and one of those items is underneath a shaker tin. And then I force them to choose an item. You know how that works. And And then I lift up the shaker tin and go, da-da, I knew you'd pick that up, you know, and everyone is just stunned. They don't know what to think. And while they're stunned, and I want to add this, that I don't do that until their drink is 3/4 or a quarter full, 3/4 empty. You know, when
Until they're ready for another drink.
Yes. That's when I'll go up to them, you know, hey guys, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then bam, I'll say, I knew you'd pick that. Hey, you guys want to get another round? And they're like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bartending, you're just a salesperson. You're there to sell as much, you know, food and drink that you can and get that tab up.
Yeah, I used to always have things hidden around the bar, and I had a watch, and I still have it. I pulled it out.
Oh, is that it? Is that
There's
it?
some great magic out there, you know. There's so many great things. I've made so much money doing magic behind the bar.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I would have a watch on, and I'd have this watch that has the, you know, if they pick the king of hearts, just ironically, or I even forced on the king of hearts on them, I would say, oh wait, you know what time it is? And I would show them that was their card. So I had stuff like that, or I always had a card hidden. I always had cards hidden behind the bar. So if somehow, some way they picked the 7 of hearts, I would go to the drink menu. I said, wait, what is that you're drinking? You're drinking a Long Island iced tea? And I would go to the Long Island iced tea page in the menu, and boom, it's in here, I swear. I know I hit it. Oh, there it is. 7 of hearts.
Oh, it's in the menu. I love it.
It's in the menu. So I always had hidden everything. Every night I'd come in, I'd hide almost a full deck, and I knew where they all were. And that way, if somebody ever picked them out, I knew how to get them to pick that card, or it would come up. Because I wanted to do tricks that didn't require a lot of sleight of hand, because I didn't have time for it. And to be quite honest with you, I could do a trick, somebody picks that card, and then later on I incorporate that card again into a trick, which is always fun.
Right.
Because now they're like, you remembered and it could have been the person that was a little bit further down the bar.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wasn't that your card from a couple minutes ago? You know, so it's a way to have fun with it that way too.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I've got my guests for our next round starting to call in. Who wants to take us out with a little magic? I think Phil's ready. I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff.
I could do one more quickie for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got 8 minutes. Take as much time as you want, but no longer than 8 minutes.
Well, I'll do this one only because
give us some
one
love.
of my favorite tricks. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm that good.
How's that?
There we go. Perfect. You got me on both spots, but we'll see how it goes. So these are just black spot cards. They don't mean anything. They're just neutral. Okay, they don't mean anything. But these are the cards you need to memorize. This is
2,
the 5
3,
of hearts,
4, 5.
the 5 of hearts, the 4 of hearts, the 3 of hearts, and the 2 of hearts. Those are the ones you need to memorize. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cards down and just watch. Okay, where I put them. We're going to take the 5 and put the 5 here. Take the 4, put it here. Take the 3 and put it here. And then this is the 2. Okay, so we're going to put the 2 on top. And now I'm going to move the 2 to the second position. See, I moved it from the top to the number 2 spot. We square them up. And then boom. It jumps
Wait
to
a
the
second.
top. Now, watch. What we're talking about. I'll do the 3. Now, this is the 3. We'll put the 3. 1, 2, 3 from the top. Because it's the number 3. Squeeze it into the middle. 3
Right to the top.
Now, this is crazy because look, I really do have in my hand these 4 spot cards. Okay, all they are is the black spot cards, and I'll take that 4 of hearts. 1, 2,
Fourth
3,
position.
4. Fourth position. Squeeze them all together. Jumps it. And look, it's just the same 4 black cards I had before. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now watch. What's the last card I got left? Which is this one?
The 5.
What's this one? The 5 of hearts.
Yeah.
Watch. Good you goo. 5 jumps to the top, and there's my 5.
Nice work. Yeah, you know, you guys.
Good job, fella.
Yeah, well done. We talk about having 5 tricks, or Cheryl, as you talked about 10. I used to work magic going around table to table doing bar hopping magic, and there's a famous line that I once learned saying that an amateur does many tricks to the same audience. So as you're learning, you always go to your mom and say, show her a trick. And the professional does only a few tricks to many audiences. So, you work it, and as you learn different tricks and whatnot, you learn the 5 or the 10 that work the most. And I do those same 5 tricks over and over again. It's my sponge balls and my invisible deck and my ambitious card. That's my routine. But I always have a different audience in front of me. So I'm always doing the same trick to a different audience. And that's the perfect playing ground for being a bartender, because your audience is constantly changing. Right?
Exactly. So you have your repertoire. It's like, you do your, whatever the opening trick is that you do. And for me, it was always to get them to do a game, like one of those game things I talked about. I would always get them to do something like that, or maybe it was a puzzle trick or the cherry. I would just get them to do something to keep them occupied, and maybe talk to somebody next to them and get to talk.
I see you, Rocky. Hold tight.
Yeah.
But then it was, like you said, I always had that, like Cheryl said, that list of 10 tricks that I knew I could always do. They're always set up, ready to go. I always had something ready to go. And you're right, Dean. That's the catch, is don't try to do too much, because now I would incorporate a new trick into the repertoire, maybe drop one off. You get something new to add in. But I did card to ceiling every night. Every night. That last call, they wanted to see card to ceiling every night.
Yeah, I worked in a restaurant where I had card to ceiling. There's 200 or 300 cards on the ceiling.
Yeah,
after working there for 3 years.
Was covered with them.
Yeah.
One night, funny this. One night I'm doing card to ceiling, and the guy says, "Man, I already seen you do that trick. My name's up there like 4 times." I'm like, "Okay, we'll do something fun." So I start doing card to ceiling for the guy. Signs the card. I do the whole routine. Mine was a little bit different than the original. I lost the card a little bit differently, and I got it out. I controlled it a little bit differently. So then I take the cards out of the box. I said, "Screw this!" I throw the box down, and I throw the cards across the entire dining room in the mall, and they go over all the tables. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning. All the cards explode all over the place, and on the glass, all the way across the room, is one card with the guy's signature on it. I said, "Go get the card." The guy walked down the stairs, walked all the way to the table, and went to get the card. It was on the other side of the glass.
Right.
Oh, okay, Chris Angel.
So we were in. I'll tell you how I did it. Okay.
We did that in Winnipeg. It was freezing cold.
No, it was an inside mall, so the window was actually an inside window. So
right. And you got a buddy who's tired. He just lost his breath.
Craig, the other bartender, had really good running shoes.
Absolutely, guys. There's so much fun to it. Let's the 3 of us commit to figuring out how to get more bar magic and bar tricks going on online, and form the Bartenders with Flair Association of America, or whatever the hell it might be. And start pulling all this together. We just talked to a couple of guys that are doing a book about flair bartending, and there's so much going on in magic and bar tricks. Let's try to figure out how to meet more often and share more of this with our audience. What do you guys think?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
I would love to do that. Love to do that, because I think there's a whole other community out there that's just waiting to blossom. So
in the next one, I'd like to give you my whole formula that I perfected throughout those 40 years. So that'd be great.
That would be wonderful. Yeah. That would be wonderful. Yeah. So let's get together and do this again. I got 2 minutes away from bringing in the Marina Del Rey Flair Bartenders from 1985 TGI Fridays team.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah. I've got John Mezcal and a bunch of his other bartenders and barbacks and managers from the day that truly started Flair bartending. So,
well, if he can hear me, hey John, good to see you, buddy.
He can see you. Yeah. John can see you. We can't see him. So I gotta let you guys go so I can get some more guests in here. Love you both very dearly. Thank you.
Bye.
Dean, we'll see you later, bro.
Phil, thanks for doing all that setup and only getting to show us a couple of tricks, but now we know
I
it
had
works.
my 10 ready to go. I had my
Thank
10 ready to
you.
go.
All right,
Hey,
we'll
you
get to.
guys follow my travels on Cheryl Charming Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
You got it. We will like and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Love you. Safe travels. All right, Phil. Thank you very much, man. We'll catch up to you on our next round. All right.
Later, guys.
Thanks for always being ready for us. All right, there we go. There's my buddy. I've got them coming in all over the place. Rob, there you are. I'm reaching my maximum on the amount of people that can come in on our show here today. Rob, how are things in Hukalau?
I'm going to say some great cocktails right now from some great tiki bartenders from around the world. They got bartenders from Paris, from Ohio, from all over the United States, London, and 80% of them are using Real infused exotics. So it's great to see that. So thank you guys.
That's great. That's great. Rob, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got John Mezcal trying to call in because my system is only allowing me to bring in 5 guests today. I have to lose a guest, Rob.
Oh, you're asking for me now. Okay. Glad I raced up here to make be here for this. But,
I know. Rob, I love you. You know that. I'm going to have to let you go because I have, John Mezcal's trying to call in, and I've got Tom, his brother, and Ed Casey, and all these great guys from back in the day about to tell the story.
I'll see you later.
All right. Love you. Don't go. I think I hurt his feelings. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We're 2 o'clock. John Mezcal and Frankie, and we've got all kinds of people calling in. I have 4 guests that I'm allowed to have on. I'm going to get right to this. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, he's there. So back in the day, there's a guy. Can you see me, sir?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. I can see you very, very well, sir. Yeah, we've got so many people calling in. Apparently, I can only have 4 other guests on with me, so 5 in total. And I think we've invited about 30 people to join in with us. Poor Rob Houston just got booted.
Oh, no, sorry about that. I'm so popular, though. What can I do?
Yeah, you know what? You do have a lot of people following you and that want to tell their part of the story with you. So here I am. I'm doing research for our documentary, Shaken and Stirred, and I come across this guy who claims to be the first flair bartender on the planet. Pretty tall order, I've got Jerry Thomas right here, and we know that he's documented as entertaining behind the bar. And then I get to talk to you, and you start telling me your story, which I'm going to hear from you momentarily. And I'm like, you know what? This might be the first guy who's flipped a bottle. John Mezcal, TGI Fridays alumni from 1985. I'm going to let you tell some of your story. What do you think?
Sounds great. Yeah, if you want to believe Wikipedia about that professor, whoever, I guess you could say he's a flair bartender, but a lot of it is about semantics, and I heard you and Marco talking about it. But I was there at Fridays. Everybody traces, maybe how you describe it, modern flair or modern flair competitions,
contemporary flair, yeah.
Right. So so they all trace it back to Fridays, but they usually stop at, obviously Cocktail and John Bandy, who really, obviously catapulted it into another universe. But
that was with the movie, though, right? So that was Tom Cruise catapulting it into the universe.
Right, exactly. And in my little Fridays universe, obviously John Bandy was the guy at that point. He trained Tom Cruise. He had a picture of him and Tom Cruise behind his bar.
Right.
Everybody kind of forgot about me, but I'm like, hey, I was the guy who, the reason these competitions started. So, if it wasn't for management seeing what I was doing and, shout out to Shelly, the manager who was, put on the competition. It would have never spread throughout Fridays, and who knows how long it would have taken for Flair competitions to come around. And obviously, Fridays coined the term Flair. It was used originally just for uniform Flair.
Right. Tell me about that. What do you mean it was the word Flair came from uniform Flair?
Well, Fridays was a great place. They really wanted you to be whoever you wanted to be, and you could wear whatever you wanted. It usually meant like silly hats or feather boas or whatever you were into. You could wear it, and it kind of, and I don't want to take credit for this, but this may be true also. For me, I had a girlfriend at the time who was working at a used clothing store, so she would give me these big baggy pants from like the 40s and 50s, and I would wear those with like suspenders, and actually I have them here. So I would put pins on them, basically from my favorite punk rock groups of the time. I grew up in Los Angeles around the underground music scene, and I actually have my suspenders for show and tell just in case.
Right.
But originally it was just like I'd put like I had like punk bands on it, the little badges of the day. But then so that was my uniform Flair, or I would put a bow tie on and like a cummerbund,
right.
Or just dress it up or whatever. You could do whatever you wanted. And that was a great thing about Fridays. They wanted you to be original, whatever. And obviously, if anybody watched Office Space, that kind of ruined it for Fridays. Because they started, first it was organic and like do whatever you want, whatever. But then, and I don't know if it was because of me, because I was on the training videos wearing suspenders with some buttons. They're like, this is the look we want. And they started issuing suspenders and like, you have to have this many pieces of Flair, which was ridiculous. And it's documented in the movie Office Space. And I don't know if he's on, but Rocky Ullery.
He is actually. Let's get to some of these guys. We've got a bunch of guys sitting in the background here. We've got a tremendous story to tell here, and lots of voices to tell it. But essentially, John, you were the first to, as you say, flip a bottle into a pour because you were a juggler. But we have the management here to corroborate the story about how Flair became, or how Friday started the bartending competitions, which truly could be your claim here that the Fridays competitions were centered around your antics and shenanigans behind the bar, and how that came to be. So here's Rocky. Say hello to Rocky.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good, Rocky.
Hey, Rocky. And I was gonna say, Rocky was like the in the movie Office Space. He was when Jennifer Aniston complains about the guy who has all the Flair. That was Rocky. He had, look at his wall right now. Look, he's still sporting the Fridays uniform.
Right, you got it.
And he saved every T-shirt he's ever got, and he has 1,000 pins and deserved every one.
Wow.
He was an amazing. When I started, he was just the most amazing busser I'd ever seen. He would turn tables like nobody's business. He had a stopwatch with him, and he would try and beat his best time for like clearing a dirty table like in split seconds. And anyway,
that's great.
He was doing Flair, but he can tell you. But he was
let Rocky tell his story.
Let's be fair here, because in '84, as a busser, I was looking up at John at the bar, watching him do this amazing flipping and juggling. So it inspired me. I mean, honestly, John was my mentor, along with many, many bartenders that came out of Marina del Rey at that time. So I started the Flair as a busser. I was flipping silverware through my fingers. I was carrying wine glass stacks across the restaurant. And it got me onto the opening team. So I started to do openings for Fridays and travel around doing openings. So I know the guys that you're bringing on here. And Chris Rich sat down with me after doing one of the openings when I received the shirt, another gold star. And he asked me, what do I want to do? And I was 20. And I said, well, what I really want to do is be a bartender. And he goes, boom, you're going to be a bartender. So I went behind the bar with Johnny as a bar back at 20. He
Nice.
put me through hell, but I loved what he did, and it inspired me, and I wanted to do it. And then we became roommates, and we worked together all the time. We did so many tricks and flares together, and went off and did other competitions together. Bottom line, John was my mentor on the flare. If it hadn't been for him, I would have never done it. And I love it. And I've got my gold medal from 1991 in the Olympics. So I cherish it. I cherish those memories. Absolutely.
Your TGI Fridays gold medal, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Hey, John, this is your life. Here's Tom Mezcal coming in on the other side of you. Tom, how did you play a role in this?
Well, a minor role. I'm John's big brother, and so really he's my protege. In many ways,
Boy.
no, but basically, how it started was John and I worked together because he got me a job as his barback in San Diego, TGI Fridays in Mission Valley. And so that's where a lot of the craziness was started. It had started. John and I had learned to juggle as kids, and it was just like a family thing. And we learned lots of different tricks and developed skills. And John just was better at it, and he took it to a higher degree. Right? I wasn't juggling knives. Yeah, we could both juggle tennis rackets and things like that for fun. But John just had more of a focus, right? And then he started using it behind the bar. So at the TGI Fridays in Mission Valley, he had already developed a bunch of tricks. I'd already been watching a few of them. I think.
And what year was this?
That's 82, 83,
Okay.
I'd say. I graduated in 82 from UC San Diego, and then I went down and worked behind the bar. And so while my head was down, dealing with burning ice and taking out bottles and all that stuff, I still was able to look up and see what kind of fun stuff was going on behind the bar, and there was a ton of it. And there was already a lot of really fun bar tricks generally, but John was taking it into the aerial realm and starting to, play with that idea there. For instance, juggling knives. That was going on in San Diego before he ever hit Marina del Rey. And he had the lemon trick, where he's juggling knives, throws up a lemon, hits it with a knife, and then brings it up and it's perfectly sliced. That's a trick I watched in San Diego long before Marina del Rey. So he was already doing a lot of those things and developing sort of, a whole bunch of different tricks.
Right.
So anyway, so I was there as barback for about 6 months and watching that go on. John tells a story that because a lot of stuff was going on behind the bar, and it was really as crazy as you wanted to be, as long as people were entertained and everyone was making money. There was one where they had balloons at Fridays, and one of the fun things was taking like the cello frill toothpicks, that have the little cellophane on the back, and shooting them through straws, trying to pop the balloons and giving out to the customers and having them join in, right? And how I almost got fired is I lit those things on fire and went, well, let's go with flaming darts, right? And so apparently I'm
always
just
pushing it
for that. And but anyway, so I got to see all the development, the early days, of John, learning or teaching himself all these new things.
Right.
So it was kind of fun. It was a very creative environment.
And then teaching the other bartenders and just making the antics come to life on the bar, right?
It was really seeing all that, because there was a lot of different tricks happening anyway, and John was just kind of elevating it and making it fun and trying to make more tips, and and it was just that environment, and it was a bit of a free for all, and so there was a lot of stuff flying around the bar anyway. It was just after John had developed, realized what he could do with it. He talks about putting, the stopper in a bottle and how that changed things. That's when it really started to elevate to what I think people really think of when they think of like flair bartending as people juggling bottles. That became synonymous. No, it's not just like, oh yeah, when they put a bunch of glasses and you can pour several colors of liquid or different drinks in different glasses. Yeah, that's an amazing trick. But it's the juggling that really captured everybody's attention in the flipping bottles.
Right. That danger of the glass flying around the room, right? Don't run with scissors.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The danger definitely adds a lot to it. So, yeah.
Right. Gentlemen, I have another person trying to call in, and I'd like to start talking about how the Flair bartending competition evolved with the Olympics and everything else. But I'm only allowed to have 4 guests on at a time. I've got Ed Casey in queue, but if I want to bring Jen in, I have to lose one of you. I'm so sorry. I already kicked my co-host out. He's not happy with
Let me sacrifice myself, since I was there in the early days, but I wasn't part of the whole the Marina days, which I think were critical to the development.
Very good, Tom. Thanks for taking the time to come in and back up your little brother here, and certainly taking credit for all of his achievements, but backing him up on how this all started back at home juggling bottles.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good time, you guys.
Hey, thanks, Tom. We appreciate you very much. Good stuff. All right. Let's move into the competitions, because I think Ed Casey was a big part of taking it forward. Is that right, John?
Oh, definitely. He was in charge of the competitions once they got started, and I've talked to him, and he remembers the early days, and especially the competition in the marina, and he took it from there. So yeah.
Ed, are you driving right now?
Nope, I'm in my car, but just
there we
sitting
go.
on the side.
Yes.
There we go. If you can move your camera around a little bit to center yourself on the frame, that would help us. There's the handsome fellow.
There we go. It keeps moving. The more I move it, the more it moves with me. Come here, buddy. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
All right, looks like the table.
Excellent. Mario Perez says you're going to run for office, Mezcal. Is that true?
You never know. Although definitely, if they dug up anything from Fridays, then I'd be in big trouble.
You definitely need to be a good juggler if you're going to be in office, right?
Exactly.
So, Ed, tell us how you were involved in watching these antics behind the bar, and then deciding to copy the World Olympics,
right.
and do the Bartender Olympics.
Yeah, it's really, it's an interesting business case, but I was vice president of operations for TGI Fridays at the time. We had a problem going on with, in the early days of TGI Fridays, we were the only game in town. I mean, we started the casual theme segment,
right.
4-sided bar, playing our music, and having that, just that whole genre of restaurants.
And how many Fridays were there at the time?
There was Fridays and Steak and Ale and just a couple other ones. In '82, I want to say there were about 75.
Okay.
We were pushing 100. So by '84, we were getting real close to 100 stores, and I think we ran that contest in '84. But one of the issues we ran into was as the competition started developing, along came Applebee's and Bennigan's and Houlihan's and Cheesecake Factory and Chili's and everybody else.
Right.
We started seeing our bar mix drop, food sales, and so approached by Shelley, whose now name is Shelley Boatwright. I can't remember her last name back then, but she was the head bartender and bar manager at Marina Del Rey, and she had an idea. She'd been to somewhere and seen something in a local little one-off restaurant down in Manhattan Beach, some bartenders competing or whatever. And she said, "Hey, I really want to do that here in Marina Del Rey." And I said, "Well, I didn't love the idea of bringing in bartenders from outside the company." But she was talking about how great her bartender, John Mescal, was. And I should come look at that. And we could, run a contest and our bartender would win and yada, yada. I said, well, so I did, and I really loved the show. John was very entertaining, obviously. I decided that we would run it as a internal competition. So we started regionally in Southern California and ran it against all the other stores. And that competition started. We it was just amazing. We saw the bar mix change from low 30s up all the way back up to close to 40% again.
Wow.
In Southern Cal, where we
So
were
starting to run these bar comps raised
so it was
your
pretty clear to us it was a great opportunity system-wise.
right.
We opened it up,
And then you took it
it
national
was
from
huge.
there.
I mean, it's 6-7%. The president of the company, Dan Scoggins, said, yeah, the president of the company said, Ed, what is going on down Southern Cal? I said, well, I'm running a competition. It's a trial. I didn't want to tell him initially because I didn't think he'd be too keen on the idea.
Right.
But he says, whatever you're doing, we got to do it everywhere. So we flew it out nationally, and it just each region had their own competition. It just started really taking off. Every time we had a competition, additionally, it was just all the bartenders and employees and their friends would show up from each of the restaurants being represented.
Right.
But what time we got to the finale, it was just crazy. You'd see busloads of people coming from San Jose, people flying out from Boston, or wherever we were holding these divisional competitions.
Each of the stores
It
would
was
then
pretty
send
Yeah.
tons of like a whole busload of people to support the bartenders, right?
Did I lose you?
No, I've still got you. You're a little choppy. I'm not. You might be in a forest.
Right. Yeah, it was a
Fred Cruz is sending out some love to you, though.
So yeah, we would.
All right.
Say hello.
So this all started because the Olympics in Los Angeles, right?
Really.
All right. So Rocky,
That's
were
right.
you involved in
Original
these competitions at the
Los
time?
Angeles, Marina Del Rey, and Woodland Hills.
I came along. I think the first bartending Olympics I was in '89, and I didn't actually place till '90 or '91. So I think I was in 3 of them that I remember.
Right.
It was just so much fun. It was just dynamic. I mean, the crowds were unreal. It was electrifying in that place, in that bar. Oh, it was deep. People were the bar deep and beyond the bar watching the competition.
And everybody was excited about it. I got Kevin coming in. Kevin, if you could turn your camera or your phone horizontal, that would be great, and we'll get you on the screen here. We've got Kevin joining us here. Kevin Flynn. So you guys are doubling or adding 10% on your of your points. The money's rolling in, and the crowds are cheering you guys on. Is that right, John?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Fun times, and who knew we'd be talking about it 40 years later. And I wish I would have paid more attention. But yeah, it was insane. Hey,
right.
Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, a point. Just a real quick.
Go ahead, Ed.
One more thing to say. My understanding is that the whole movie Cocktail was directly coming out of that whole scenario. We held our finals over in the Woodland Hills restaurant, and evidently one of the producers or directors on that show had been there the night that we were having a semifinal, and it was just crazy. It was standing room only. We had 5-6 deep at the bar, and all the upstairs level filled. People weren't even at the tables; they were just standing up trying to watch the competition.
Right.
But it was such a wild scene, and I think it inspired the idea for that movie to begin with.
No, we're.
I'm gonna go ahead.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'm gonna make room for someone else because I've told you what I can tell you.
All right.
You guys have worked with you're talking to some great people here. John, you still flip a bottle?
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Yeah.
There he goes. He's got a Flair coat going. Cool. Hey, Ed, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your portion of the story. It's so cool. The history is coming out in books and documentaries now, and it's so great to be able to touch base with you guys and bring it all to life. Thank you, Ed.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right. So who's this Kevin Flynn dude? What are you? Who are you? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Dean?
Yeah.
How are you, buddy? Rocky,
Very
what's
good.
up, buddy? Johnny, how are you,
Hey,
my friend?
great, Kevin. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm sorry I missed Ed Casey. He actually promoted me to become a bartender, I think in like 84 or 85. I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
Was that at Del
Sorry
Rey?
I missed that. Yeah, that was the Marina Del Rey. That's where Ed, I think, was the regional manager then. Alan Dempsey was the GM, and three of us and a couple other guys and girls were all pretty young bartenders at that time, right, Johnny?
Hey.
Didn't we all get promoted right around the same time?
Yeah, and I kind of already, when the original competition in Marina, some of the bartenders were much older, and I got a lot of slack. Like, I don't want to be a trained SEAL. I'm a bartender. But luckily, you guys came in. You were like the new fun crowd, and really got into it. And that bar just took off and was so much fun. And working with you guys was such a highlight of my life. And I'm gonna tear up now. No, but it was so amazing. And I worked with so many amazing people. And Fridays was just so great at training, and you had to be the best of the best, or
Yeah, absolutely.
you weren't a bartender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really did. I remember, when I got promoted with Tim Rose, we trained at the same time, and it was you had to train 30 days, and then you had the honor. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I said his name, and there he is. He was waiting in the wings, but you said his name, so I had to bring him on.
You had the honor of working the 8 to 1 shift after you got out of training, and it was great. Tim, how are you, buddy? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you, man?
Yeah,
Doing
good to
pretty
see
good.
you.
How's
Hey, how
Florida?
you doing?
You having a good time?
Yeah, Florida's great, man. I'm sitting up on the 10th floor. You guys can probably see the ocean in the background.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm down in Fort
Nice.
Lauderdale and visiting
Daryl,
some
I
friends.
love your background.
Thanks, man. How you
Look at
doing?
that.
Great
Nice.
to see you,
Got your
Tim.
stripes out. Got your adult
You know it,
blanket
baby.
hanging.
You know it.
You
I
know
know
I
you
got
got
this.
a
Good,
museum
dude.
of stuff, don't you? You've got a Friday's museum worth in your basement, don't you?
Oh yeah, I sleep with this shit.
I can't believe how much stuff you have, Rock. It's when you post that stuff, it's like, oh my God, it's going back in time. Matchbooks, placemats, the whole nine.
All of it.
Very
Beautiful.
cool.
Yeah, Rocky and Frank Cruzado has a bunch of stuff too.
Rocky,
Yep.
we'll have you on a future show here on Cocktail Network Live just to share that all that memorabilia. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. This here is actually from one of the restrooms, pointing you to the restroom.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Great. Hey Tim, tell us your role on this whole flair bartending phenomenon.
It was 1985 when I was promoted. Kev, you too. We had just
Yep.
come back from a year-long passport trip where we drove around the country, and you could show up and just you show them your Friday's passport, you could pick up a shift. So we left around October of '84, and then when we came back in '85, we were offered a bartending position by Ed Casey, and we both
Yep.
trained under Leslie Lee. Remember Leslie Lee?
Cool.
Oh yeah, she was great.
Leslie Lee was just a bartender extraordinaire. She was a very talented woman and a phenomenal trainer. And Johnny, did you train with Leslie?
I worked with her. I don't remember. I don't remember who did my training in the marina. I was already a pouring bar back from San Diego, and when I got to the marina, I don't remember who trained me, honestly.
Yeah,
obviously I borrowed from all you guys, but
we had a lot of old time bartenders there when we came on board. It was a very coveted position to be a Friday's bartender. I mean, it was hard to break into the ranks, and some of these guys stuck around so long they finally aged out. We used to think, when's Carmody going to go get a real job? When's Billy Lutz going to go get a real job, right? So we had all those guys, and so Johnny Kevin and I trained and got on board as bartenders, and we were very fortunate. And Johnny was working the bar, and the best part of Johnny working as a bar back was when he would get down and shine up those copper pipes. We would just sit there and watch him, and you were the best, baby. But
Love shining those
Yeah.
pipes.
Saturday morning
then
bar cleanup.
A clean bar is a happy bar.
anyways, Johnny was, even when he worked barback shifts, he was flipping and spinning. And, I remember just every time you picked a beer bottle up off the bar, you would flip that thing and either catch it behind your head or, in your hands, or grab a couple, three, and start juggling. And the guests were really digging it. It was a lot of fun. And then Johnny kept adding different pieces to his repertoire, including we had this old metal toy plane that hung on one of the pillars at the bar. I think it might have been on the number one side, and again on the four-sided bar. And John has even back then he looked just like Bob's Big Boy. And we got him this little doll, Bob's Big Boy
Yeah, there
doll.
it
And
is, baby.
hey, see, and John used to take that Bob's Big Boy doll and put it on the metal plane, and he'd pour 151 rum on it and light it on fire, and run around the bar with the thing burning. And it was called Babakazi, right? And everybody always loved, at least once a shift, John had to do the Babakazi. Am I right?
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
The
But
Babakazi.
anyways,
We made
what's
him
that?
Daredevil Bob. I would put a cape on him,
Cape,
like,
yeah.
a cocktail napkin. Would douse him with 151, and
Hey,
it would be
Daryl.
flaming around the bar, and then I'd throw it into a sink
Yeah.
to put him
Daryl,
out. But
that's
the
your
crowd would go
vet
crazy.
and my red Jeep parked there. Did you
Yeah,
see
that's
that?
my Corvette. That's my Corvette and your red Jeep. Yeah, that's from like 1990. It's from like 1990. Yeah,
awesome.
there's my Corvette and there's your Jeep. Yep.
So those are your guys' cars out front of Fridays. And that's the
Yeah.
Del Rey Fridays, right?
Yep.
That's
So
great.
the whole FLair thing, in our area, you had a few the Fridays that we had. We had Marina and Woodland were always the two restaurants that were we were always vying for top sales. I mean, we did
Right.
serious volume. Those four-sided bars, they were packed every night. I mean, happy hours were real happy hours back then, right?
Right.
And the bar would be 3-4 deep, and it was nonstop. So, between the marina and more so the marina with you, Johnny, the FLair started taking off, and obviously John Bandy. He kind of jumped on board. Those guys were a bunch of prima donnas over there in Woodland. So, we we had a big competition. Who were the best bartenders? And we did the bartender Olympics, and then they did one, and then we got together and did a big one in the marina. And the thing that kind of got the juices flowing was 1984 was when the
Right.
Olympics were in Los Angeles, right? And that's when everybody started flipping and spinning, and then it said like, hey, let's do a competition. And I think Leslie was part of the organizer. And then who was GM? Was Dempsey the GM at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
either him
Alan
or
was GM.
Yeah, so I think Dempsey was the GM. Anyways, they picked a few of us to get involved in this competition, and Johnny, you and Bandy, and a couple other guys were really good. I mean, I was not very good, but I was kind of convinced to be part of the competition. I mean, I remember making that Friday's freeze right in front of Ed Casey, and Mark Running sitting to his right, and Joe Rizzo on the left, and my hand is just with that cherry on top, that garnish. My hand was shaking like a leaf. It was great. It was great when it ended, but the cool thing about the competition was it really made us all better as technical bartenders. It wasn't just flipping and spinning, but you had pour tests that we had to do every day, and you had to be spot on. and that was part of the competition. We had recipe tests that we had to take
Right.
as part of the competition.
Even early on, you had all those rounds early on, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then it just blew up from there, and then it went regional, and then you had regional competitions, and then it went national, and then it became the World Bartender Championships, and it really all stemmed from that group in Marina del Rey, and you, Johnny, leading the charge on it. So yeah, I tell you what, I around the house, I'll grab a bottle, when we have
all the
friends
time.
over and flip it or spin
Yeah,
it. What's
all
that,
the
Kevin?
time. I
Yeah,
still flip.
Or
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
every
so
time, or even in the shower, I'll still spin the shampoo bottle every time. You know.
What are you doing touching shampoo?
If it's a bottle, I'm going to flip it.
Well, hey Tim,
Yeah,
in your regional position, didn't you guys have the first all TGI Fridays Olympic bartending in Dallas, and weren't you at that?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That what
That was a
it
big deal.
it the thing is, as this thing grew, and it was like a fever through Fridays, through the whole company, right?
Right.
We
How long were
became
you with
known.
Fridays for, Tim?
I'm sorry,
How long were you with Fridays for?
17 years.
Gotcha.
So but as this thing grew, I mean, it got to a point where you had to audition to become a Fridays bartender in your restaurant.
Yeah, you had to have a little bit of flair.
You had to have a little routine, and the bar manager and the GM, you would have a meeting in the morning, and you'd have to audition to be a bartender, and everybody was highly encouraged to do flair, every day that they worked. And it didn't have to be all that flamboyant and crazy, just some simple, fun flair. And as it grew, the skill level of some of these kids, I mean, if I look
Right.
at some of the films, like I was looking at one, Rocky, you were there, and the one in Scottsdale, Arizona, that Richie one.
That was
Remember
my
that?
boy Richie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny and I basically trained him for the most part.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
He was
And these
incredible.
kids they took the ball and they ran with it. They were so good. And I still have some of those videos, and we'll watch them once in a while. And it's astonishing how talented.
Became really good at neck slaps.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Rocky, do you still have any of those old videos? The one prior to Olympic bartending by John Bandy?
Johnny and I talked about that. I don't. I don't know what came of them. I mean, I have different videos, but not those. I have the one with Richie that Tim was just talking about, but I
Right.
don't. I don't have the originals. No, I don't.
I'm trying to track those elusive videos down. I can't find anybody that has them. Magic Mike
Sure.
doesn't have them. No one. So
Well, who knows if they were even taped back then?
Well, they were. There was a video actually with Ed Casey. It was me and Ed Casey and John Bandy and another bartender from Woodland and myself.
Oh, really? And you can't find that.
And it was sent to every Fridays, like how to train for the bartending championships, or they were probably still called the Olympics back then. And I was lulled into a false state of security because John Bandy wasn't flipping anything then. He just, a very great, flashy, animated bartender, but there was no bottle flipping in
right.
that video. I don't think, and so I'd love to see what stage we were both at. But I might have been lulled into a false sense of security because when I met him in the regionals, which also because I was the first in Marina, I never got the rules for the regionals. So, I walk in and they're like, the original competition, they just called out like 18 drinks. And you had to make them perfectly, and any, showmanship you could add was like extra points. And Alan Dempsey was a GM, and I think I sent you I saw the original score sheet, but anyway, when I got to the regionals against John Bandy, which was like the next step, which happened a couple years later, I walk in and they're like, "Where's your list of drinks?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You can do any drinks you want." And I'm like, I was used to just having drinks called out, and I did whatever I could with the bottles in front of me. And luckily, I could even like flip a full bottle by my back and do stuff with full bottles. But they go, no, you can bring in your own bottles and call it the drinks. Of course, it's too late for me to set up any bottles, but John Bandy and the other competitors came in with their bottles with the perfect amount of alcohol in them, like a half ounce or an ounce, so they could flip them and everything. And so, anyway, he beat me by, like I just talked to Ed Casey, and he said, he beat me by a fraction of a point. And so, and it was in the preliminaries, not even the Flair part. And that's the original score sheet.
Yeah, I'm gonna try
And
to make
like
it.
there is Flair on it, but I think that was like
We need a
uniform Flair.
recount. We
What's
need a
that?
recount, Johnny. We need
Yeah.
a recount.
Yeah.
This is the first documented recount being called out for a Flair bartending competition. Yeah.
I think we need to
Bandy,
get
if
you
you're
two.
out there, I'm ready. No.
I think we need
I
to
was
get
gonna have
you
him
and
on.
Bandy. Johnny, we need to get you and Bandy together and have another flip off, have another competition, just the two of you.
I'll
Yeah.
probably still win. He really took it to another level. Like I say, I never worked on a routine because there was no reason to. I thought it was just going to be them calling out drinks and me doing whatever I could. And especially, he had home court advantage. It was in Woodland Hills, and no sour grapes, but he deserves everything he got. But it was, I obviously felt it wasn't a level playing field. I didn't have the rules. For some reason, I never got them. So I went in there, cold, and he had everything set up, and he had the bandy board and everything else. But and like Ed Casey also said, like nobody really touched him through the whole competition. So he's like, you should have been in the finals with him. And but and nobody was really doing it back then. It was so new even then, and I'm sure people were dropping stuff, and it was dangerous, and the Flair bottle hadn't been invented yet, and we were using real glass in front of judges that were a foot away. So and everybody was doing glass stacks that couldn't flip bottles, and it was just ugly. So I think that's why they didn't have it. I lost by like I say, a fraction of a point, and I'm like, I'll get them next year. But there was no next year. They didn't do it for another like 3-4 years because it didn't go. I don't think it didn't go as they expected maybe. But then I think when Cocktail came out and everybody got a lot more enthused about Flair bartending, they started having the competitions again, like in 1991.
Right.
And then I got the call from Tim, hey, John, you want to come back to Fridays? I'm like, yeah, I could pick up a couple of shifts. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, they're doing the competitions again. So, but I was working full time at the Cheesecake Factory, and I couldn't go on anyway, even if I won. So I didn't make the last drinks. I made sure I didn't win, and that's when Richie won and went on, and he deserved it. He was amazing. But,
And those
anyway.
competitions went on for another 20 years until 2011, right?
Yeah, I kind of lost track after like 90.
And we were all gone by then.
Right.
You know what, though? You know what? I was annoyed by the movie Cocktail, though, because we were doing our thing. As soon as that movie came out, then all of a sudden, people would come to the bar. We'd be back there, Johnny and I. We'd be flipping bottles. They go, "Oh, trying to be like Tom Cruise." I'd be like, "No, Tom Cruise trying to be like us."
I love it.
I'm sure every Flair bartender has dealt with this, but that was probably another first for me. I remember, I knew John Bandy. I worked with him, great bartender. And I'm like, Friday's bartender. I'm like, this is going to be great. I remember like seeing the matinee, like the first day it came out. I saw the matinee of Cocktail, and then I went to work that night, and that's the first thing I heard. I'm doing my thing that I've been doing for years, and they're like, oh, Tom Cruise. I'm like, F you. And I'm trying to explain it. This gets worse. But I'm like, and I know so many bartenders have get this all the time. And
oh yeah, we had shirts that said "My name's not Tom."
Yeah.
Right. And I went up to visit John Bandy once, and we have mutual friends that transferred to Woodland Hills. And people would say to him, but he had a picture of him and Tom Cruise behind his bar, and he's like, "Look, I'm the guy." And so, he had that, but
right.
I'm still in the business, and to this day, people hear about my past. They're like, "How come you don't do it here?" I've been bar manager many places, and they're like, "How come you don't do it behind the bar?" I go, watch. The minute I do this, someone's going to make a negative comment about a cocktail, and sure enough, I go back there and they're like, oh, where's the hippie hippie shake? And so I'm like, that's why I don't do it that much anymore.
That's so funny.
So to this day, I still get it, but
Yeah, we all do.
what are you gonna do? You can't, So, but
Well,
anyway,
you guys, all of you together, John, starting it with your antics behind the bar, you guys really kicked off an international sensation of this flair bartending thing that has employed millions of bartenders around the world, gotten us jobs on cruise ships, and I owe a debt of gratitude to all of you because I invented the flair bottle and the shaker tin and the bar and all that stuff. I had a great run with that, so. It all comes back to what you guys did back in those days. It's incredible.
It was a hell of a lot of fun, I tell you. It was a great time.
It was.
I'm an Ohio boy. Kevin's an Ohio boy. Daryl's from Kansas. Oh, I'm sorry. Rocky is from Kansas.
Right.
I got to get out of that habit of still calling you Daryl, don't I?
It's all right, Tim. It's okay,
Rocky.
Man.
It's a term of endearment, buddy. And
I love
Johnny,
you, man. It's all good.
Johnny out of San Diego, it was an incredible time to be in LA. And, we were waiters when the Olympics were there and then all turning into bartenders. And I mean, it was, and all this happening and flair bartending and the championships, it was, honest to God, it was, one of the best times of my life. It really was. And I have fond memories of it. So, I hope there's a revival of it. I hope it comes back, man. I want to, I'd love to see some kids doing it again.
Right.
Yeah, Tim, to piggyback off that, I think it was lightning in a bottle. It's a once in a lifetime thing where a group of guys and girls came together and we all just kind of fed off each other and we all had each other's back. And, I know we all miss it. I'd love to get together with all you guys. And it was just an incredible time in all of our lives. And we'll always hold that close to our heart.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. We'll have to do this more often. What do you guys think of where the world has come with flair? In the early 2000s, we had competitions of $10,000 in prize money.
Oh yeah, it got big. The last I was in 2011. I went to the World Bartender Championships as a spectator. It was in Dallas at the House of Blues, actually.
Okay.
The prize money was huge. It was like 10 grand, and there were trips, and it was just a wonderful event, a huge event. So I don't know why it kind of disappeared. I mean, I haven't seen it in a bar in a long time.
Right, it's been a decade for sure.
I think the skill level, and this is I don't know. I think the skill level of a lot of bartenders has kind of diminished. It's not as to be a Friday's bartender. The training that we had back then. I mean, honestly, we had to take tests and we had to learn hundreds of drinks, food drinks that nobody'd ever heard of. So I mean, we were very well educated bartenders and talented. Nice book. Look at that book. It's an encyclopedia of drink recipes.
Wow. You guys memorized that whole thing.
We had to know that whole thing. And so I just don't think that kids coming on nowadays have to go through as much to be a Friday's bartender. So I just think it just kind of went away. So hopefully at some point somebody's going to grab it and we'll see a revival in the flair bartending, because it is a hell of a lot of fun. And you know what? It makes you money. It makes the companies money. People seek out. I mean, people used to come in just to see us. And watch us bartend. We were their entertainment, and you just don't see that anymore. So,
the early days of being a Friday's bartender was like being a rock star.
Yeah,
it's fun. It was so much fun.
I mean, especially like you say, when the Summer Olympics were in LA, and we were behind the bar at Fridays, it was insane. People from all over the world were just, focused on us and watching us and having fun with us, and you know, but you know, and Marina was always busy, but that summer was insane, and you know, I'll always remember that and such great times with you guys.
Great times, great
Great.
memories. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question in from our audience here. Mario Perez has a question. He says, what watering holes in Marina del Rey, Venice did the TGI Fridays 85 frequent on their days off?
Many.
Yeah,
Many.
all of them. All of them.
Hey,
Right.
what was the best bar?
What was the joint
What
that
was
had the
that?
turtle races?
The club next door. What was that?
Oh
Popcorns.
yeah.
Popcorns. Yeah. The Black
Or that
Whale.
place,
And
that place
you
by
know,
the
we used to go
water
to.
that we used to go to the Mexican place on the patio.
Oh my God, the Red Onion! You kidding me?
Oh, the Red Onion, yeah.
The Red Onion had that Tuesday happy hour that was silly, like $1 for a margarita. We used to get ham boned in that joint. And then what was the place with the turtle races on Lincoln? Remember that?
Oh
Irish
yeah.
joint.
Is that a
Brennan's.
Is that a Bennigan's?
Brennan. Yeah.
Is it a
Brennan's.
Bennigan's?
And then we
Brennan's.
used
Okay.
we used to go to Playa del Rey. You know, we'd go to the POW, the Prince of Wales. That's where the old time bartenders kind of introduced us to that joint, and Toast
Right.
Tavern, and you know,
Cozy Inn.
there were what's that?
The Cozy Inn.
Oh, the Cozy, yeah. You know, Lisa B still goes to the Cozy every night.
Yeah.
Does he?
Shout out to Lisa.
Yeah, she still
That's
goes to
great.
the Cozy.
That's great.
It's a great place. It's a great place.
Yeah,
They,
those were
I think
probably the main watering holes we would go to, right?
But the best bar in Marina del Rey was the TGI Fridays parking lot at the end of the shift.
Yeah. Ain't that right?
You know, we would
The
always
for
somebody
sure.
would always pass the hat at the end of the shift, and you know, you walk out after a long shift, and somebody would have a trunk full of cold beers, and that was great times.
We'd stay there till 3, 4 in the morning, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that happened at every Fridays in the country, but yeah, it was fun times. Remember that time
great
Rocky
question,
bought
Mario.
us beers? I remember the time Rocky bought us beers. He's like, it's on me this time, guys. It's on me. I got beers for tonight.
I got it.
I got beers. He got it. He's like, I'm like, oh, Rocky's springing for beers. This is great. Rocky, this is great. He comes back like an hour and a half later. We're all waiting. Like, where's Rocky? And he had like 4 beers. I'm back with the beers. There's like 200 people in the parking lot waiting for Rocky. I don't know what he did in that hour.
I spent the money on something else.
The best parties are always in the parking lot, right? Always.
They were, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Guys, well, this has been a great reunion. I hope we can do it again and get more people. Jen Choi wanted to join us today. She couldn't make it. If you remember Jen Choi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's working with Empire Distributing on the East Coast now. And she was actually sitting at my bar here at the office just days after I had just first connected with John. It was just the most bizarre thing to have her sitting here in my office.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. Guys, I can tell you there is a revival of Flair bartending is coming. Like I said, we were working on a documentary called Shaken and Stirred. Shaken and Stirred, the movie. Go check it out on .com and leave your name there for a newsletter for us. And earlier in the broadcast today, we talked to 2 guys that are documenting the history of Flair bartending. They've already interviewed John and myself, and they're making a Bible about the entire history of it. So hopefully you guys will be named along the way in there. So, and I think some of the TGI Fridays buyers might be watching right now. So who knows?
Hey.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see what the 2020s has to do and bring it back another 45 years later. So,
all right.
Guys, on behalf of the entire world of Flair bartenders out there, the bottle flipping, my own entire career, which is thanks to all of you guys for putting together these competitions. Thank you for all the work you guys did and just having fun and making it into something cool.
Right on.
Take care, guys. It was great to see you.
It was all about the fun.
Yeah. Rocky, I'm going to cut you out next. You want to say goodbye?
I'll say goodbye. Great to see you guys. Love you all, guys.
See you,
Love
Daryl.
you. Love
Take care, buddy.
Love you too, brother.
All right, Kevin, you're next. Say goodbye.
All right. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye bye.
Kevin,
KB, see you
thanks.
soon.
Oh, wait a second. Jen Choi's here. Come on, where are you? Oh, we just lost Kevin. Jen Choi, she's trying to get in here as we're saying goodbye. All right, Tim Rose.
Hey, thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk about it. Great time of my life, Johnny. You're the best. I love you. Hope to see you out there at some point soon. You all have a great summer, okay?
All right, we'll
Thank
see
you so
you.
much, Tim.
Thanks,
See you
Timmy.
guys. Great to see you.
All right. John, thank you very much, man. I don't know if this settles that you're the first bartender on the planet.
It's a big claim, but honestly, I got, I've been trying to tell the story for 40 years, and
Yes.
I always got shut down, or you know how it is at bars. It's like, yeah, I did that, and they're like, whatever. And
Right.
I just once I actually I think I was online looking for tins or something for the bar I was running, and it popped up like the first Flair competition was in Marina Del Rey, and I'm like, who knows this? And I'm like, I researched, and then it was on the World Bartender website from Fridays.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, I have something to back me up. And so that's probably when I changed it. I'm like, yes, that was me. And I did, I was the first competition at Fridays, and Fridays started the competitions. And so, I maybe went overboard, but, and like I say, it's a lot of it's semantics. There was a lot of flashy bartenders throughout the years,
Right.
but, were they flair bartenders? Were they just flashy bartenders? I definitely think I was the first one flipping bottles, and that's what
Right.
started the competition at Fridays, and it's.
Well, that's what got me on it. I've been teasing you a little bit about the first on the planet, but from the research and the stories that I've done with John Mezcal, who's a very good friend of mine, I've gone fishing, we've hung out, and Magic Mike, his
John
stories.
First guy who
Right. I think we might be able to boil it down to that you're the first to go flip a bottle into a pour, making you the first bottle flipping bartender on the planet, perhaps. Certainly, you've added a giant piece to the puzzle of where this all started. And if it weren't for your antics behind the bar, we wouldn't have all these bartending competitions today. So yeah, I think you're a big deal, dude.
Well, I appreciate it. I just want the truth out there, and people always are like, "Why don't you tell people?" I'm like, what am I going to do? Stand up in the middle of the bar one day and like, I was in the first competition? It just does. There's no forum for it, and so thanks, for having me and listening. And like I said, if anybody wants to, you can go to the World Bartender Championship page, and I'm listed there, and then some other internet articles or whatever. But anyway, I appreciate being on here.
But before you go, I've got my co-host is calling in here in a second. Rob Hughes said we've done all these broadcasts together, and when I had all of you guys calling in, I had to cut my co-host loose. So I think I broke his heart a little bit. I feel bad about it. Waiting to get him to call in.
You always bring him in. Is he still around?
Yeah, he says he just texted me, said he's calling in now. So hopefully you can at least say hi to him and catch up. So what was the website again, so I can show it? The World Bartender website.
It's TGI Fridays World Bartender Championships, our championship, and then about
WBC
World Bartender Championship.
Right, I'm just bringing it up here. Oh, that's not it. That's the Winnetka Bible Church I just brought up. So TGI Friday.
And I'm wondering if do you have time to play those videos I sent you about the beginnings?
Let's find that video here. Hold on, I got a bunch of texts coming in. All right, boom, boom. John Mezcal. Yeah, with who was that gentleman?
John Platt.
Is that John Platt? That video? The 5-minute video.
There was one I did with my brother about the origins, like me juggling and behind the bar, and then
yeah, John Platt. I've got John Platt's video here, Witness to the Birth of Flair Bartending. Would you like me to play that?
He was at the original contest, sure. It's pretty entertaining, I think.
Right. So let me see if I can get that going here. Hold on just a momento. Come on. This playback is a little rickety.
High school the year before. He and his brothers were going to college down in San Diego, and I got invited by a mutual friend to one of their crazy parties, which were always, kind of out of control. A lot of drinking, a lot of juggling, a lot of music. I remember Johnny was kind of the ultimate entertainer. He always wanted people to have a really great time, so he was always doing whatever he could to make it more fun. And whether they were slip and slides in the backyard, or there was crazy stuff going on. I remember this one game that they played that was called Bowling for Jesus, where somebody had gone down to Baja and gotten all these cheap plastered Jesus statues, and they'd line them up in the backyard of this apartment and have people bowl for them for shots. It was hilarious, ridiculous, but always a good time. When I moved up to LA in the summer of '84, I just turned 21, and I was, of course, trying to check out all the coolest dive bars in Los Angeles, from Shay J in Santa Monica to the original Al's Bar downtown, the original Firefly in Hollywood, which was this bar, this tiny little bar where they'd actually light the bar on fire at midnight every night by pouring like high-proof alcohol in the bar and just torching it. And that was a great time until the fire marshals shut it all down. But when I heard that John Mescal, that's where I wanted to hang out, because I wanted to watch Johnny pour. Johnny was doing stuff in that bar that I had never imagined could be done. Bottles were flying everywhere, stuff that would never be allowed today. It was just, dangerous and crazy, but they allowed it back then. It was the 80s, Johnny was the center of attention always. You gotta remember, at the time, John Mescal looked like a cross between Elvis Presley and the statue of Bob's Big Boy. It was like Elvis and Bob's Big Boy had some kind of lunatic, juggling, bartender love child from outer space. I remember this trick he choreographed, which I think was called the four-corner Long Island iced tea, where Johnny and the three other bartenders at Friday's would each take a corner of this huge square bar in the middle of the restaurant, and they'd chuck liquor bottles at each other, which the other person would catch over their shoulder, pour into a glass, chuck to the next bartender, catch the next one, pour the next one, chuck to the next one, bottles flying literally around a restaurant, packed bar with people yelling and screaming, until there was 4 Long Island iced teas, one made in each corner of the bar. How no one was hurt or killed, I have no idea, but it was the 80s, people loved it. And then in '85, I remember the Marina Fridays decided to have this Flair bartending competition. And I guess this was the first one ever in the world, and they were doing it as some kind of promotion. But Johnny had been teaching the other bartenders the tricks. They'd all been practicing for, months. I brought some friends down there who'd never seen this kind of thing before, and I told them, I know this bartender at the Marina Fridays who's, he's the best bartender in the world. And my friends are like, what are you talking about? Best bartender in the world? What, he can make a good drink? I'm like, now you gotta see this. They couldn't believe it. We were just, jaws dropped watching this stuff, because it was a higher level than we'd ever seen, even in the months preceding that, because they'd been practicing and coming up with new tricks, and they'd really pushed the limits. And of course, Johnny was always kind of the center of attention, because he was not only good at just tricks, but he knew how to engage people, and he was a performer, and he knew how to connect with the audience and how to screw with them. He would sometimes start a trick and then stop because it just looked too dangerous. And then you thought, oh yeah, they're not going to do this. And then he'd reach over and get a knife or something and do something even more dangerous than what he was originally going to do, and then pull it off. And people went nuts. It was crazy. And you do have to remember, at this time, there was nothing like this. There was no, movie Cocktail that wouldn't come out for, years in the future. There was no Cirque du Soleil at that time. These kind of crazy life risking acrobatic entertainment type thing had really never been done before, except whatever high wire act in a circus, but that wasn't done with bottles and knives. It was that level of entertainment. It was like the high wire act combined with the knife throwing guy combined with alcohol and party atmosphere. It was just the best thing anyone had ever seen, at the time. We'd never seen anything like that.
Uh-oh, I've lost sound.
There, now you can hear me.
There we go.
All right. Mario dropped in a note saying that in today's discussion, I think Mr. Mescal has proven without a doubt that he most definitely belongs in the discussion of the first Flair bartender. So, yay, Mario. Great for the shout out. John Platt really told the story about what it looked like back in the day and how exciting that was.
Yeah, it sure was. And I was going to San Diego State, and it was a party school, and part of it was like, that was the great thing about Fridays. It was throwing a party every night, and
right.
It was even before I was flipping bottles or whatever. There were people doing sink dives. I don't know if anybody's familiar with sink dives.
Right.
But,
You've sent me pictures. I'm sorry I don't have them ready. I wanted to show it.
That's okay. And, it was just that kind of insanity. These guys would bartenders would put on goggles and strip down to a Speedo and stand on the sinks and dunk their heads. And, that's when I knew, I'm like, you can do whatever you want here. As long as the guests are having fun, nobody cared. No manager was like going, hey, put that knife down. That could be dangerous or whatever. Whereas, today I got to tell people, are you wearing a cut glove with that knife? And be careful and let her. Back then it was a free for all. We were in the marina. We were having a little trouble. The most popular drink was Terminal Island. It was a Long Island, but instead of Coke, it's a shot of 151 rum.
Ouch.
And and so the whole place was just plastered on those. And so Fridays said no more 151, but we had like a whole case left over. So we were burning everything. We were burning Bob's Big Boy dolls. We were burning, and people love that even more than flipping bottles or anything. If you're burning something at the bar,
right?
They're loving it. Or we would even stick our fingers in it and light people's cigarettes with our fingers.
Yeah, and, that's a big deal.
But anyway, it was crazy times and fun times, and like they said before, it was kind of the perfect storm. Fridays would let you do anything pretty much.
Right.
At the time, and it morphed into the competitions, and
then the management saw it as a great opportunity to make some extra bar sales, and you led that charge.
Yeah, and it didn't. Like when I was on with, I think it was Rocky and I who was here. They put us on a slow Tuesday night, and we'd just build before social media. One person would tell another, and in a couple of weeks, our Tuesday nights would be packed.
Right.
And, they'd come to see us and whatever. So, yeah, it was great times.
Good stuff. All right, I got one last message from Frank in here. He's been dropping messages all day long here. I'm sure you know him. Kudos to Johnny. I tried calling in. I bar back for John and Kevin and Tim. and I have lots of John Mezcal stories. Frank, I'm sorry we missed you this time. Yeah, I've only got so much room, so little room actually that I had to kick my co-host out, who's not too happy at this point.
Sorry about that, Frank. I know. Yeah, Frank was there and he bar back for me at Marina, and yeah, he has a lot of stories, but maybe hopefully another time.
Yeah, Frank, we'll get you out again. We're going to get these shows going up and running again in the near future. So, John Mezcal, the very first Flair bartender from TGI Fridays, who made it all happen. If it weren't for you, the movie Cocktail would not have happened. And this whole legacy that you've it's all back to you. So, thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you having me on, and like I say, telling my story and getting it out there, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Good stuff. Thank you, John Mezcal.
All right, thank you.
All right. John Mezcal taking out the day here on Cocktail Network Live. Great conversation with John and Tim and Rocky and Kevin and all the guys that started the original TGI Fridays Flair bartending competitions that ran for 20 plus years and really created a solid base and excitement about bottle flipping bartenders. Had a great conversation with Cheryl Charming. Thanks for calling in. And Phil Raimondo today. They both talked to us about doing magic and bar tricks behind the bar, and hopefully we'll do a lot more with both of those celebrity bartenders in the future and start teaching more people how to entertain behind the bar without flipping bottles. And of course, legends, more OG characters like Tom Dyer and Marco Canova at the start of the show with my good friend Rob Husted. Again, Rob, please forgive me for cutting you off the show. I had to make room for the other guys to come in. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. National Flair Bartenders Day. And don't forget to like and subscribe and check us out Monday. Monday we are going live with a bartending competition in Boca Raton. Rob Husted, again, is running this bartending competition. It's going to be great. Cocktail Art Challenge. Yeah. We're at the Beer Garden in Boca Raton on Monday night. So come on down and cheer us on. We've got bartenders from all around the world coming in to compete for the prize money, and it's going to be a great time. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Sherry and Tom Dyer. There's Tom Dyer. Great show. Thanks, Tommy. Love you very much. All right. We'll talk to you guys again. Well, thanks for sharing National Flair Bartenders Day with you. Mwah. Love you all.